7 of the Karen Reed retrial. Now, Jen McCabe is currently on the stand today, and she is going to be cross-examined by Mr. Jackson. We were wondering who was going to do the cross-examination. Was it going to be Mr. Jackson, Mr. Alessi? Was it going to be Mr. Yannetti, maybe? But we're going to jump into cross-examination soon. We're just going to continue the direct examination of Jen McCabe. Now, remember, Jen McCabe was friends with John O'Keefe. Jen McCabe assisted John O'Keefe in raising his niece and nephew because the niece and nephew lost their parents at a very young age, and John O'Keefe took over, basically being a parent to these 2 young children. And so Jen McCabe was like the neighborhood friend who was helping John, and also with Carrie Roberts as well, who already testified on the stand. However, the defense believes that Karen Reed was framed by Jen McCabe and her family members and friends as well. Remember, Jen McCabe is the sister of the woman that lives in 34 Fairview. I think her name was, I always forget the fucking name, and it's like Julie or it's Nicole. I think Nicole, right? Yes, Nicole. Nicole is sisters with Jen McCabe. Nicole and her husband, Brian Albert, who is in law enforcement, by the way, they're the homeowners of 34 Fairview. So is it like, well, is Jen McCabe really friends with John O'Keefe, or is Jen McCabe really, is she really trying to frame Karen Reed for what her and maybe her family did? I don't know. It's like a whole fucking mess, y'all. It's a whole fucking mess. So we're just going to jump into the direct examination. Now, the court does take a 1-hour break or some shit in like the beginning of the middle, or sorry, in the beginning of the morning session is what I'm trying to say. Okay, it's so early over here. My allergies are fucking me up over here. But Cheryl, come back here. Hold on a second. I need to close my door. Cheryl! Here. Cheryl? Silly guy. What a silly guy. All right, I lost my train of thought. What are we? Oh, the court took like an hour break during the middle of the morning session, so I think we're going to be able to catch up pretty easily today. I don't know why they took a break, but apparently the judge stopped the questioning in the middle of cross-examination. She called the attorneys to have a discussion on a different floor of the courtroom or something like that, and then they disappeared for like an hour. So I think we're going to be able to catch up. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Hi, Rain. How's it going? And if you guys don't mind, I'm going to be eating my breakfast while we're watching this. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw my thumbnail, but Jen McCabe is wearing blue today, and so is Karen. Got the blue crew going on over here.
About Mr. Brennan, I was handed clips.
Oh, that's right. I think I'm going to skip through this part. Let's just get to where Jen McCabe testifies. Oh, here comes the fan. He's coming in. Oh, there she is.
Good morning. Follow me, please.
I honestly, okay, and I'm just saying this is all conjecture, but I feel like the reason why the judge didn't want to have a continuance for the first trial or the second trial is because she wanted to have this done by like midsummer so she could enjoy the rest of her summer vacation. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, okay? Because last trial ended, what, in the beginning of July, where the mistrial was called. And then for this trial, I believe both sides also wanted to have a continuance, and she's like, no. And I'm like, I wonder if it's because she wanted to enjoy the rest of her summer trial and just get this out of the way. I don't know. But I guess she could have pushed it to autumn season, but maybe that schedule would have been busy. I'm saying that with having no basis, by the way. I just assume people want their summer vacations.
I'll remind you, you're still under oath. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. McCabe.
Good morning.
I like the sweatshirt better than yesterday. I think it's kind of like a casual look, but not too casual. It looks court appropriate. But I like the blues that the women are wearing today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before you take us back to Fairview Road, I want to ask you a couple of questions about John's house at Meadows. Are you familiar with his house?
Yes.
Have you seen the front of his house before?
Yes, I have.
Are you familiar with his driveway?
Yes.
Are you familiar with whether
sorry.
there's any surveillance system at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes.
Can I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
How's your day going, Rain?
Ms. McCabe, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as Exhibit 6. Do you recognize that photo?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
That's John O'Keefe's house.
Could we provide Exhibit 6 to the jury, please? And that's Exhibit 8.
Right of Mr. Yes.
What is it?
Yes.
I want to show you Exhibit 10. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the driveway at John O'Keefe's.
You see a car to the left?
Yes.
Do you know whose car that is?
Yes, that's Miss Reed's.
Is that where you left it the night before? Those early morning hours when you drove to Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes.
I want to show you the marked as Exhibit 11. You recognize what's in that photo?
Yes, Miss Reed's vehicle.
Is that the vehicle that Ms. Reed showed you with the broken missing taillight that morning?
Yes, it is.
That's a screen grab from the car dashboard, by the way, from law enforcement. They went to John O'Keefe's house to basically do a welfare check on the children to make sure they're okay, you know, because John O'Keefe was their main provider. John O'Keefe was dead, so they just want to make sure the kids were okay. And I think the kids were actually with John O'Keefe's friends. Maybe Mike was one of them, the one who already testified, Mike Camarano. I'm turning off the camera for a second.
You mentioned earlier in the night you spoke to John O'Keefe when you called him or he called you about directions to Fairview Road.
Yes.
And you also shared that you had a phone conversation offering directions.
Yes, I did.
Did you tell John that the house at Fairview was near Bella's mom's house?
Sustained as to form, Mr. Brennan.
Okay. What did you tell John as far as directions to Fairview? How did you mark it for him?
I told him to go back past Bella's house, the Bella Street, and then to follow it down to the end.
Why? Why?
Now I want you to take us back where we were yesterday when we left off. You had brought us to Fairview Road. You had found John.
Yes.
You shared with us that you were trying chest compressions. Before the chest compressions, did you make a phone call?
I called 911.
If you're giving directions, okay, and you know that person's girlfriend is sitting right there, would you mention their ex? Would you be like, oh, yeah, it's right by your ex's house, the girl that you were dating? I don't know, man. I feel like I would find other ways, more creative ways to give directions. Oh, boy. That's actually what they were arguing about before the trials, before the jury came in today, whether or not Bella's mom could be mentioned. Because remember last time when we were getting to the line of questioning yesterday, there was an objection, and then they did a sidebar, and then Hank came back, and then we didn't continue the line of questioning with Bella. So, that's it now.
I'd like to move to introduce a copy of that 911 call.
Okay. Do you have something physically to... Thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin.
No, this is for that was it. I'm going to come to third floor, Fairview Road, we can't match the baby and tap out of the snow. You can't hold up, because you can't really go. You connected to know, okay? Yeah, I don't know why you did that. You have to tell us about that line. I could keep going, like, you guys got area in 60, okay? I'm trying to tell her, because it's him. Okay. I know.
All right, let's be real here. Can y'all hear this audio? I could barely hear it. Hey, Mufasa, how are you doing today? Playback watcher from Australia. Well, hello, hello.
911, what's your emergency? Someone to come immediately to third floor, Fairview Road, Camden, Mass. What's going on? There's a guy unresponsive in the snow. In the snow, third floor? Yes, third floor, the Albert resident, yes. I just pulled up and found him.
Okay, 34 Fairview?
34 Fairview, Camden, Mass, yes.
911 is under order for emergency. Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you come to 34 Fairview Road in Houston?
34 Fairview?
Yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay. What else?
No, it's like whenever they play things out for on the speaker and then the stream doesn't get a direct audio feed from it and we're just picking up audio from the courtroom. It's always like this. It's like fucking like goldfish audio. Sounds like beatboxing. Oh, I think you'll be able to hear it more when I think the windshield wipers are going off. I think it's this one.
He's got to get here, okay?
Okay. What's going on? Is he face down?
We just flipped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone related?
That's his girlfriend's name is John O'Keefe.
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
46. How long has he been outside?
I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and it could have been a couple of hours. Is he carrying? I don't know if he's breathing. There are two women trying to into this body and they're hysterical.
Okay, can you just try asking? I know it's tough, but we have the other side of the going. I just got to know.
Okay. Is he breathing, you guys? It doesn't seem to be breathing.
Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to attempt CPR?
Yes, you guys do CPR. no, I think he's passed away.
Okay. All right, we have the fire department and the police department on the way. If everyone's declining CPR, then I'll hang up with you, and if anything changes, you can give us a call back. Where are you guys outside?
I'm right up front of the car. I know, I'm on the phone with the ambulance. I know, honey, I know. Carrie, you gotta get off of me. Carrie, you gotta get off of him.
You know if there's any alcohol or drugs involved?
He had been out.
They've been out drinking.
Yes, like I'm talking hours ago, maybe. And I don't know how long he's been in the snow.
Okay.
Can we get a transcript of this? I have no idea what the fuck she's saying. I can't. I have 2 earbuds and I don't know. Hi, Jen. How are you doing today? Fantastic timing. Corey, oh my God, you're the only thing going on right now. Oh, are they finally on lunch break?
Is there any
We'll catch up.
maybe in his head out?
Yes, possibly. I think he's bleeding in the face.
Okay, bleeding from the face. All right.
Yes.
And how big is the pool of blood, if there is any?
Something's coming out the nose, and one of the women is doing CPR.
Okay, one woman is doing CPR?
Yes, but we're working on him.
All right, if she's doing CPR, and just give us a call back if you tell us your response, all right? But we're on the way.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Ms. McCabe, describe your mental state when you were speaking to 911.
I guess the best way to describe it was I was in shock. My heart was racing. I was trying to be as helpful as I could and get the information to the most important information out as quick as I could to the 911 operators. But also the scene there with Karen and Kerry was a bit chaotic between the two of them. So I was just trying my best to be as calm as I could, to get help there as fast as I could, and to answer their questions the best that I could.
Damn, Karen Noreen's mom looking fashionable over there. She got the green blazer, these like green pants, her shoes. Had to pause to appreciate it. Hi, Dan. How are you doing today? I'm doing good. Woke up early, trying to get this thing going, and I'm sure we'll catch up. Apparently, court took like an hour. I don't know. There's a lot of breaks that they took. Or they took one large break in the middle of the morning session. So I think we're going to catch up.
Before you told the 911 operator John O'Keefe's name and his age, you said there's a man in the snow. Do you know why you chose those words?
I think I just wanted to get out the most specific details. So a man in the snow versus, John O'Keefe and into a story. I think I just was get the details to them as fast as possible to get help there to him as fast as possible.
When you told the 911 operator that your friend John O'Keefe was the person lying in the snow, how did you know his age?
I was actually wondering this as well. I wonder if it's common in maybe the Canton area or Boston area, Massachusetts, where you're talking to people that are close to you, but then you refer to them in a way that sounds like you're a little bit more distant to them. I wonder if that's just a common thing. Like sometimes I'll say like, oh, that guy or the guy, referring to like my friend or like Shiro sometimes, but like as a joke. But I just wonder if that's more common with people who live in this area because they do refer to John as that guy also later on in like text messages between, I think it was like her husband. Yeah, her husband said the guy never came in, right? Instead of saying like, oh, my friend never came in or John never came in. I wonder if just like that's their way of just speaking over there. Where to the rest of us, it sounds like, oh, wow, you're really trying to distance yourself from that person. Why?
We used to joke because he was a couple months older than me. So I would, say, oh, you're older than me. It was a silly little thing between friends.
When you called the 911 operator, had Kerry and the defendant already been around or near John?
Yes.
Do you know if they had begun trying CPR before you called 911?
I'm not sure if they had because Karen had straddled him and was lifted her shirt, was warming him up, and then Kerry was yelling at her to get off. And I think when Kerry got the blankets and was trying to put him under John, I think as she started to move him and wipe him, blood started to come out. And then Karen was afraid that he was going to choke on his blood and wanted to move him on his side. But then Kerry was yelling at her, we can't move him. And this was kind of all going on while I was talking to 911.
You described what you saw, and you said at some point he was bleeding from the face area. Was that before or after he was moved?
After.
Before he was moved, did you see any active bleeding?
No.
I wonder if the blood was pooling in his mouth, and then the moment they moved him a little bit, that blood came out or something.
After you call 911, what do you do next?
I think I called my sister, and she didn't answer. And then, as I think I called her as I was walking over to John, and she didn't answer. And then I immediately got down on the ground, and Kerry Roberts asked me to take over.
How long did you try to help John for?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
How long were you and the
Kerry Roberts ran up to, well, sorry, they all ran up to John, and then Kerry Roberts was the one who was clearing snow off John's face, remember? While Karen Reed was like pulling up John's shirt and then like, I guess like trying to figure out like what was going on with him. So at that point, they already had the snow removed from his face. It's my understanding that when he was moved again, or when he was moved, that's when like blood was like coming out.
defendant and Ms. Roberts there before someone else arrived?
Police officer was the first to arrive. In the moments, it seemed like a long time, but I think it was fairly quick that they arrived.
Like with Sarah Boone when she screamed because she thought he got resurrected or something. The blood spattered out. Oh, God. I actually wonder if Sarah Boone was trying to lie to make it seem like he was still alive, or if, in fact, that really happened.
Any point during the time when you tried to help Mr. O'Keefe and the first police officer arrived, at any point did you see any signs of life from Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
When the police officer first arrived, do you remember what happened next?
I remember it was very chaotic, but there was talk about a spotlight, and I remember I think I got up and ran to kind of wave the to get the police officer's attention so we could see where.
I live in Brockton, 2 towns over from Canton. We don't really use that guy in an endearing way. It's important to not move anyone too much when in an accident because you could do more damage to them. Yeah. Oh, by the way, y'all, I started Pit yesterday. The Pit. Holy shit, it is fucking intense. But I like it so far. I'm only episode 1 in. You could do more damage. How are these people from cow families have no basic sense? Well, I think Karen wanted to move, and then Carrie was the one who was trying to get her to stop moving him. I don't know. I think Jen was just like on the phone with 911 or some shit like that. If he gets moved, there would be clear signs of it in the snow. No, it only gets better. Yeah, a lot of people were like, well, if John's body was dragged from 34 Fairview and out in the snow, wouldn't there be footprints? Wouldn't there be, I don't know, like a trail or something like that? But the only witnesses that we can rely on is law enforcement. Law enforcement said they didn't see any footprints, any snow prints. But here's the thing: if you don't trust law enforcement in this case, it's kind of like this case is tough, you know. If you don't trust the law enforcement investigating this case, and you don't trust a lot of the witnesses, I don't know. This thing gets really fucked really easily. Hey, Moondog, how's it going? It only gets better. Hi, Jen. How's it going? How are you doing today? Hey, Nicole.
Where we were.
And then what happens?
The police officer, I'm not sure specific. I do remember him asking about John. I think he said, is he a drug user? He was just asking some basic questions.
And what's the environment? What's going on around you?
Karen's just running around crazy, like just yelling, screaming, kind of like a ping pong.
What are you trying to do?
I was just trying to talk to the officer. I guess I just went into this like type of mode of, all right, I have to just talk to him, get the information out, figure out like how we can best help John and like what happened to him and try to save him ultimately.
And what happens next?
More officers begin to come, fire and EMT. So the scene becomes active with a lot of different presence. John, I think they lift John onto a board at one point. The officers are asking us questions. Karen's kind of coming over, talking to the questions, and then kind of just running away, and then she just runs back over. She's doing a lot of screaming, a lot of repetitive, is he dead, is he dead, is he dead? Could I have hit him, did I hit him? Kerry, I think, Kerry's off kind of making phone calls, I believe, to John's family.
Do you know what time the first responders lifted John from the ground and put him on that bed?
I don't know what time, but it was...
Okay, that's the only question.
Okay.
You heard your 911 call. Do you know the time of that 911 call?
Not off the top of my head, no.
At some point, did you talk to a number of different people at the scene?
Yes.
And who were you talking to?
The first officer was Officer Saraf. I know I spoke with him. I spoke with an Officer Lank, an Officer Good. There were other officers. I don't remember their names. There were EMTs. I don't remember their names either.
You have lived in this area for a long time?
Yes.
You're active in the community?
Yes.
Did you know Sergeant Good from before that night?
I knew of him. I didn't know him personally.
Did you know Detective Lank?
Yes, I knew him.
How did you know him?
We were friendly.
Your children ever associate with each other?
Not until recently.
After you had a chance to speak to some of the officers, did you move around at all yourself?
Yes, I kind of, the officers would talk to us here and then a little bit over to the side. I tried to comfort Miss Reed. we, at one point, Miss Reed was very upset, and one of the officers thought it would be best if maybe she went and just sat in one of the cruisers for a little bit because she was just doing a lot of screaming and yelling, and I think they were just trying to, get, work on John and make the scene a little less chaotic. So I went into the back of the car with her, and Kerry Roberts came over, and then we all were just sat in the back of the, Karen and I kind of were scrunched and sitting in the back, and Kerry was at the door of the cruiser.
Why did you get in the car with the defendant?
She was crying. She asked me to get in. We held hands. We prayed. She did have blood on her hands, and she said, could I have gotten my period? Who's going to take care of the kids? She just kind of was all over the place. And then at one point, we saw them moving John towards the ambulance. And at that point, Miss Reed started yelling to Miss Roberts, go check on him. Are they working on him? Is he dead? Is he dead? And at that point, myself and Miss Reed got out of the car, and she started yelling and pulling on me to Google hypothermia and Google how long it takes for somebody, to die in the cold.
When the defendant first asked you to Google an inquiry about hypothermia, were you still inside the police cruiser, or were you outside?
Outside.
What was the weather? I know it's an obvious question, but how cold was it?
It was very cold, windy. The snow was blowing. As I stated, I have multiple sclerosis, so when I'm out in either extremely hot or cold temperatures, I lose the feeling and sensation in my fingers, which obviously made the Googling very hard for me to do because of my motor skills.
So when you were outside of the car with the defendant and she had asked you to do a search regarding hypothermia, did you try to do that?
Yes, I did.
Do you know the exact time from your memory? Not from reading or learning, but from your memory. Do you remember the exact time you did that?
No.
Was it after the police came that morning?
Yes.
Had you ever attempted to search about hypothermia any time before that moment, that morning?
No.
Or that day?
No.
That week?
No.
Was this the first time that morning after the defendant asked you to search that you searched that phrase?
Yes, it was.
And did you complete your search and get a result?
So I don't know what came up, because I think as I entered it, I think I misspelled things. And so then I think I tried a second search.
Question. The guy that's behind Karen Reed, I thought he works for the courtroom, but I think he's actually hired by Karen Reed. I think they hired their own personal stenographer or someone. Pretty interesting, because I'll see her refer back and talk to him sometimes.
And again, I don't think I even paid attention to what came up because we were already on to the next thing. Karen was already moving and screaming about, the next thing to Kerry. Are they working on him? Is he dead?
Did the defendant move somewhere from the point when she first asked you to try to Google about hypothermia to something else?
She was next to me, and then I think she took off. She kept kind of running off.
And what did you do?
I believe as they were I think I stood there, I believe as they were putting John into the ambulance, I went back kind of to the original spot where we had been talking to the police. And at that point, a new officer might have come because I remember talking to multiple officers there.
At some point, did you go back towards the area of Ms. Roberts' car?
Yes, that's where I'm referring to, sorry.
This one's Alan Jackson. Alan's over here. Miss Little's right here. Yanetti's right here. I think they hired him. Because you know how it takes a while to get the court transcripts? It's kind of cool to just hire your own and get the transcripts from him at the end of the day or something. Hey, Rhea, how's it going? How are you doing today? Hello, hello. That counts as a full head of hair, too.
At some point...
Hey, Mandy.
At some point, were you with the defendant when she spoke to an officer and a first responder?
Yes.
Do you remember if the first responder was a man or a woman?
I remember there was a woman right next to us, yes.
Do you remember if that was before or after the defendant asked you to search
Law intern for Yanetti's firm? Maybe? Okay.
about hypothermia?
I'd be guessing if I then don't.
Don't guess. When the defendant was speaking to the first responder, the woman, were you near?
Yes.
Did you hear or do you remember the defendant saying anything to the first responder?
Yes.
What did she say?
She told the first responder, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
When she told the first responder, I hit him, how did you react?
I was startled, kind of what are you saying? What are you talking about?
Did you say anything to the defendant?
I think after the second or third time she was saying it, I was like, Karen, what are you saying?
Why were you trying to interrupt her?
Because I thought she was just talking crazy, and I'm saying, why is she saying she hit him?
Were you trying to look out for her?
Yeah.
Sustained. I'll strike it. You can ask it differently.
What was your motivation for trying to interrupt the defendant making the statements to the first responder?
Karen was hysterical, irrational, kind of...
I'll move on.
Okay, I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
Sabah. Matching in the blues.
Yeah. After you made the search at the defendant's request for an inquiry regarding...
Honestly, I think because when Karen Reed, well, I mean, based on the women's story, she was already hysterical when they were contacted by Karen. She continued to be hysterical throughout. I think at that point they kind of just like discounted her and just didn't really rely on her, and they just thought she was kind of like going crazy. So I think that's why they were like sitting her down, like, okay, tell us what really happened. Because I think they tried to, and then she was kind of all over the place. And they probably just assumed maybe she was like so drunk or something, and then she was all over the place. She's just being, I don't know, fucking crazy. But yeah, a lot of people had questions about like, okay, well, why weren't these women a little bit more, I don't know, inquisitive when they're asking Karen what happened? I think it's just because Karen was going crazy, and they're just like, okay, well, we can't really talk to her anymore. The other thing was people were saying that like, well, if Karen thought that John went into 34 Fairview, why didn't she go to 34 Fairview to ask them, hey, what happened last night? Like, why is John outside? I thought he was in there.
Hypothermia.
That's wise.
Did you have a chance to speak to the officers further?
Yes.
Did they ask you to do anything or go anywhere?
Yes. Officer Lang asked me to go into my sister's house and to wake them up.
And your sister's name again?
My sister, Nicole.
And that is the house you were in the night before?
Yes.
And after you spoke to the officer, they requested you go in to speak to your sister, did you?
Yes.
Was there any directive on what you should speak to your sister about?
No.
After the officers asked you to go into the house, did you?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what door you went through?
Yes, I went through the front door.
Was the door locked?
Yes.
How did you get in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said, was it unlocked?
No, I asked if it was locked.
Oh, sorry. It was unlocked.
Right, like going back to the period thing, right? Where she like all of a sudden realized she had blood on her, and she's like, wait, am I on my period? It could be because she was going, you know, hysterical, she was having a breakdown, or if she knew that she was guilty and then she wanted to add more to the hystericalness and make it seem like she was having a breakdown.
Unlocked.
As you're approaching the house, were there any lights on?
No.
Was it dark?
Yes.
Any sign of any movement inside the house before you went in?
No.
Take us through walking through the front door. What happens?
So I went in the front door. I opened the door. I walked up the stairs into their hallway, and then I think I knocked on their door.
Bedroom door?
Their bedroom door. And then I opened the door. I went in, and I walked over to the bed, and I was like, Brian, Nicole, because I was in a position where I felt like the world was going on around me, so much was happening, but I also was aware that I was just about to wake up two people that are sound asleep, and they're going to see me standing over their bed and be startled, wondering, what am I doing here?
So what happens?
So it took a minute or two, and then Brian woke up, and he immediately was like startled and was like, Jennifer, what's going on? What are you doing? And then I believe I tried the best I could to say what was going on. I think I said, we found John.
You don't need to describe
Okay.
again, but I want to know their reaction and your interaction with your sister and Brian Albert.
They woke up startled and confused.
Did you have a conversation with them?
Yes.
How long was that conversation?
Brief. They got up, got dressed. I spoke to them.
And where did you go and where did they go?
Then all three of us went down the stairs.
The upstairs to the downstairs?
Upstairs to downstairs,
And
yes.
upstairs is the second level, is downstairs the first level?
Yes.
As you come down the stairs, can you see the front door?
Yes.
Is there anybody in the house at that point?
I saw Officer Lank.
In the house?
Yes.
Do you know if he had been invited in?
I have no idea.
When you came down the stairs and saw Officer Lank, where was your sister and Brian Albert?
They were walking with me down the stairs.
And did you see whether or not the officer spoke with your sister and your brother?
He did.
Brother-in-law? I'm sorry.
He did, yes.
Were you there during that conversation?
No.
How long was that conversation, do you know?
Not sure.
Where did you go when the officer was speaking to your sister and your brother-in-law inside their home?
I was standing at the front door.
Anyone here heard of the staircase case? Staircase case about a woman who was found at like the bottom of her staircase, and then law enforcement was called. The husband said that he doesn't know what happened. She must have fell. It must have been an accident. But then when law enforcement arrived, there was so much blood at the scene. And so this case was pretty big because they weren't sure if she genuinely had an accident and fell, or if she was murdered because of how much blood was at the scene. I don't know. I started watching a Netflix TV show about it, but I don't know if I remember the ending or if it ever finished. Have you guys seen that show? Or do you guys know anything about that case? That one was pretty wild too. It's like, what the fuck happened to her? It was just like, apparently it was just like so much blood.
And then my husband, Matt, had just arrived.
What happened next?
I started talking to Matt, and almost immediately Officer Lang came, got Matt, and asked if he could talk to him outside.
At this point, I want to go back and show you some video. Have you seen video in this case before?
Yes.
I'd like to ask the court's permission to display Exhibit 4, and I'd like to walk through some of the video.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if you kindly put on Exhibit 4. I'd like to start at 6:09:57.
Oh God, this again? I don't want to watch the body cam. Do y'all mind if I like forward through this? I'm just gonna super fast forward it. The body cam stuff is just like, you can't really see anything. You can't hear anything. Wait, he was found guilty and then he was released later. He was found not guilty after an appeal and was released from prison. Is that what happened? Oh, he was granted a new trial. Okay, granted a new trial. 2017, pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter, was sentenced to time already served and released from prison. Oh, was this in France? How come I don't remember the ending of this?
Gilman, if you can take us to the arrival at Fairview.
Damn, so he's already out?
Can you stop there, please? Ms. McCabe, do you recognize the scene?
Yes.
Is that morning?
Yes.
The car directly in front of this dash cam, do you know whose vehicle that is?
Kerry Roberts.
On the left, we see somebody with a blue parka or jacket. Do you know who that is?
I believe that's me.
Can you continue to play, please?
The first murder was in Germany. His wife died in a car accident, was super sus. Was there a life insurance policy involved?
Can you stop there, please? Does that fairly depict your first interaction with law enforcement?
Yes.
Do you see the flagpole in that video?
Yes.
And is that the area where you found John?
Yes.
I'd like to move forward in the video. If we can move forward to 6:14:45, please.
Was Lord Vallis somehow involved? She was the goddess that they were worshiping.
Could you stop there? Can you identify people on that video from right to left, if you can?
I don't know the officer. That's myself. I believe behind me, that's Miss Reed.
And this is about, let me get the time correctly.
Hey, Dino. Who's the off-hair guy?
6:14:47. And do you know where John is at this point?
Are they lifting him to the left?
Okay. Could you continue, please, Ms. Gilman? Could you stop there? The person all the way to the left near the flagpole. Do you know who that is?
I believe Kerry Roberts.
And is that the area where John was found?
All right, I'm going to skim through this because I know this video sucks.
Yes.
And that's at 6:15.
I believe so, yes.
Do you know why the officer moved the defendant over to from right to left?
I don't.
Okay, continue, please.
I'm not exactly sure from that video.
That's fine. If we can move forward to 6:23:40, please. Spot.
Yes, I am.
What? There's a double murder with an au pair who was supposed to taking the kids to the zoo, but the bedroom was a murder. Ooh, excuse me. Bedroom was a murder scene? Trying to remember the details. Oh, I don't know anything about that. Hey, what's up, girls? How are you doing today? Yes,
Is it
Mr.
during this time,
Jackson.
6:23 and 6:24, you tried to make those searches at the defendant's request?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you can move forward to 6:26:15.
Oh, this is where the hose long took place?
Yes, I am.
At this time, are you still with the defendant behind this car in some spot?
Yes, I am.
Is it during this time, 6:23 and 6:24, you tried to make those searches at the defendant's request?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you can move forward to 6:26:15.
Jen, someone in my chat, in my Twitch chat, says that's possibly Yanetti's intern from his law firm, maybe? Or maybe it's an associate?
Is it around this time you have a conversation with Mr. Lank?
Yes.
And what does he tell you again around this time?
He's at this point, I think, asking me questions about what had happened, and then soon after, he asks me to go into my sister's house.
Ms. Gilman, if you can fast forward to 6:34:15, please. Please.
After Officer Lank spoke to my husband, Kerry Roberts. Her and I had a conversation. She was going to go pick up John's parents in Braintree. At first, I had told her I would go with her, but then Officer Lenk said that I needed to. One of us had to stay at Fairview to speak to the. I believe it was the state troopers that would be coming.
Did you stay at Fairview?
I did, yes.
What was your mental state at that point?
Again, I was in shock. The best way I can describe it is the feeling of I'm present and everything's going on around me, and I'm just trying to process and make sense of everything.
Did you speak to your sister about what happened?
Yes.
Did you speak to your brother-in-law about what happened?
Yes.
And were they giving you any comfort or support?
Yes, they were being very comforting and supportive.
As you were waiting at Fairview, did anybody
What? Whoever mounted the screens in the corner was trying to make everyone look insane in the screenshots, I swear.
else come to the house?
When my husband Matt had arrived. A little while later, Julie Albert had arrived. She was dropping something off, and
No, it would be unfortunate if it was like the double chin angle. Oh my god, the double chin angle would be really bad, or if it was like the top down angle, you know. The operative husband hired someone to kill the wife, and then they killed the guy as he killed the wife and said he broke in and killed her. Holy shit. That's fucking wild. Pretend like the hitman is on your team, and then all of a sudden, boom, turn on the hitman. Holy shit. Huh. So I take it they didn't get away with it? How did they get caught?
And Brian Sr. called her in.
Is Julie Albert the wife of Chris Albert?
Yes, she is.
And Brian Albert and Chris Albert are brothers?
Correct.
When she arrived, did you talk to her?
Yes.
Were you in a group? Were you talking to people privately?
No, we were all sitting around the kitchen table.
And why were you talking to everybody?
We were trying to figure out what had happened. They were trying to be supportive, trying to help me.
What was your mood?
I was extremely concerned. I was calling Kerry, trying to get updates about John. I was worried about John, his family, about Kaylee.
At that point, did you know whether John was going to live?
I had a very strong. I think deep down I knew that John was gone. But you know, until you hear it, I think there was that little bit of hope, maybe.
Did you speak to anybody but Kerry, who was not at the home that morning?
I believe I spoke. Yeah, Miss Reed.
You had a conversation?
Yes, I spoke to her when she was in the ambulance.
Did you speak to her again later that day?
No, I think I texted her asking her for Kerry's number because I didn't have it.
Did you hear back?
No.
Did you ever speak to Miss Reed again?
No, I've never spoken to her again.
When you were trying to get information from Kerry and you were in Fairview, did anybody else other than the people you described arrive at Fairview?
Chris Albert. Oh, Brian Higgins showed up, and Chris Albert.
Did you know Brian Higgins?
I knew him as a friend of Brian's.
Did you see him at the Waterfall that night before?
Yes, I did.
And after you arrived at Fairview that night, after leaving the Waterfall, was Brian Higgins one of the people there?
Yes.
And did you talk about what had happened in front of Brian Higgins as well?
Yes.
Was there a group discussion?
I wouldn't say discussion. I would just say, like, for instance, someone would ask me a question because everybody this didn't make sense to anybody. No one knew what had happened.
Agreed.
So just move on.
And so was there a lot of questions about what you saw and heard?
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that you felt like you were in a state of shock. Did you feel like you were still in that state, or were things changing mentally?
Little by little, as I sat there, I started things started coming back to me that had been said to me earlier.
Did something significant come back to you about what happened earlier, or what you heard?
Yes.
And what is that?
When Miss Reed stated to myself and the female, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
And did anything else over the course of that morning come back to you about that moment?
Throughout, when I was still at Fairview or throughout the day?
Still at Fairview.
I believe that was maybe the main thing. I can't be sure what memories came back.
When you remembered the defendant's statements to the first responder, did you decide to do something with that information?
Yes, Officer Lank had said if I, remembered anything or needed anything before the state, the state police came to give him a call.
And did you?
I did, yes.
And you knew Officer Lank?
I did, yes.
Were you comfortable calling him?
Yes, I was.
Did you tell him the information that you had remembered?
I just asked him to come back to Fairview.
Did he?
He did, yes.
When he came back, did you speak to him?
Yes, I did.
Were you with the group, or were you alone?
No, I was with the group.
And did you tell him what you had remembered?
I did, yes.
How long did you stay at Fairview for?
I believe somewhere between 11:30. I'm being approximate with my times. Officer Proctor called me from the state police.
Do you know how he got your number?
No.
Did you have a discussion with him?
He said he would like to come by and question me, and I'm not sure if he said at your house or if I said I need to go home because I had 4 kids at home that were still sleeping, and I knew that I had to go home to them and eventually break this news to them and comfort them, and I knew that was going to be a whole other situation to deal with.
Did you speak to him on the phone before you went home, or after?
A quick phone call. I'll see you at my house.
At that point, did you share any information with him?
No, not on the phone.
Did you return home?
I did, yes.
Do you remember about what time that was?
I'm going to say 11:30 or after, approximate.
General?
General, yeah.
Oh. When you got back home, did you have a meeting or speak with Mr. Proctor?
I did, yes.
Was it a phone call or an in-person conversation?
He came into my house with Officer Buchanan.
Okay. Him and Trooper Buchanan came
Yes.
in? Was there anybody else at your home?
My husband was home, and my brother-in-law, Brian Albert, came over.
Did you speak to them?
Yes.
Did you tell them any additional information at that point?
The troopers or?
The troopers.
Yes. I know I had said what Karen had said to me, and then she had said I hit him. Could I have hit him? I told them how she showed up at my house. I just basically gave them the events of that morning.
At that point, did you mention anything about the defendant's broken taillight?
At that conversation, no.
Did they leave?
They did leave, yes.
At some point, did they reach out to you again, or did you reach out to them?
At some point, I had another conversation with them a few hours later. I'm not sure if they called me or if I called them.
Do you know what generally the content of that conversation was?
Yes, I had remembered that Karen had told me about her taillight.
As you're processing that morning, are you trying to think?
The worst part of the kill the hitman incident was that the daughter was in the basement while her mother was upstairs being killed. How old was the daughter? Do you remember? Hey, Spring Thunder, how's it going? Hi, Aaron. How are you doing today? Hello, hello.
You can recreate the event, or are you trying to put it out of your mind?
I couldn't get it out of my mind.
While you were at home, did you receive any updates from anybody, Kerry Roberts or anybody, about John?
Yes, when I was still at the Alberts, Kerry had given me word that, John had passed. Then once I got home, I know different friends who were starting to hear.
Without content, were you receiving contacts, calls, text
Yes.
messages from other people?
Yes.
And were you reaching back out to other people?
Some, yes.
At some point, did you go over to Meadows Road?
On Sunday, I did, yes.
Was Sunday the next day?
Yes, it was.
Why did you go over to Meadows?
Kerry and I went over with my daughter and her daughter to see the family and to offer support and our sympathy.
You said you and Kerry. How did you get there?
Kerry picked me up.
Prior to that evening, you and Kerry, you described, weren't friends or familiar?
Correct.
Were things changing?
Yes, rapidly.
When she picked you up, who else did she pick up with you?
My daughter, who was Kaylee's friend.
And was anybody else, or any of Miss Roberts' family in the car?
Yes, her daughter was in the car as well.
So it was you, Miss Roberts, and your two daughters?
Yes.
You said you went to Meadows.
Yes.
Why did you go there?
To offer our condolences, sympathy, support, to be with the family. I love them.
Were they staying at Meadows?
They were at Meadows, yes.
When you went there that next day, can you describe the traffic and the people that were there?
There was a house full of family, friends, coworkers, loved ones. The car repairman, like anyone and everyone.
Did you ever see the defendant?
No.
While you're at the house, did you have a chance to speak to Miss O'Keefe?
Yes, I did.
At some point that day, did you leave the house?
Yes.
Who did you leave with?
Kerry and my daughter stayed to be with Kaylee, and we left with her daughter.
Where did you go?
We were heading home, but then we ended up dropping off her daughter at her friend's house.
You feel low energy? Oh man, that's how I've been feeling for the last week. I've just been feeling super tired. Daughter was really lucky then. I think she was a toddler. Oh, so sad. Tisk, 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 man. People just can't do the good old divorce. Gotta kill the wife.
Now, who's her daughter? Don't give me a name. Kerry's daughter?
Kerry's daughter, yes.
And was Kerry's daughter friends with any of the Lanks?
Yes, Kerry's daughter's good friends with Mike Lank's daughter.
When Ms. Roberts drove over to Mr. and Mrs. Lank's house, did you meet anybody?
Yes, her daughter, Kerry's daughter, went in the house, and Mrs. Lank came out. Her and Kerry are very good friends, so she came out to offer support and condolences.
Was it still cold outside?
Yes, it was freezing.
When she was offering her support, was she inside or outside of the car?
She jumped into the back seat.
During that time you spent with Officer Lank's wife, did you ever go into the house?
I have a faint memory. I think I went in and used the bathroom at one point.
Okay. When you were having the conversation with Mr. Lank's wife, were you talking about what had happened?
Yes, Kerry was just explaining the morning, the phone calls, the scene, things like that.
Were you trying to get any type of inside information or push the investigation in any particular direction?
No, I didn't speak much. It was mostly Kerry and Trish was just being a supportive friend to Kerry.
At some point, did you get together with Ms. Roberts and try to memorialize what you had saw or thought that morning?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Peg had asked Kerry to do a timeline, so Kerry came over and we were sitting down talking about it, and so my sister was there and she said that she would jot it down for us.
And so when you got together, it was at the request of Mrs. O'Keefe?
Yes.
When she made that request of you, asked you to do that, did you question why?
No, she wanted us to do it, so I did it.
Why?
She wanted us to remember and try to jot down everything we remembered so we wouldn't forget.
I'm going to sustain discretion. There is disregard next week.
Did you speak to officers further in the future?
Yes.
Can you count how many times you spoke with police at the interviews you had?
There were a lot. or a good amount, I should say.
At some point, did any of the police officers ask if they could take your phone and copy everything on it?
Yes.
Did you have any hesitation about that?
Objection. Ask a different thing.
Were you cooperative?
Yes.
Why?
I wanted to help in any way I could.
May I approach?
Yes.
Hand you a piece of paper. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
That's my signature.
You know what that document is?
Yes, it's the consent form that I signed for my phone.
I think we use this as an exhibit.
Okay. Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, we can deal with it sidebar. I have no objection to the identification of it. Moving in as exhibit, I have no objection.
Fudge me. I'm sorry. Hi guys. I was saying that I was reading Aaron's message. Jen McCabe's breathing legit sounds like Darth Vader. Yeah, someone is Darth Vader ringing up right over there. Okay, so Aaron says, I think she's doing pretty well so far. Much better than last time. And I was commenting that I think it was Emily Baker that says that when a witness is testifying, they should be telling, not selling. And that the sentiment of her last testimony in trial number 1 was that she was trying too hard to sell a story. And when you're trying to do that with a jury, sometimes that can come off as like really inauthentic. But I thought in trial number 1, I thought she was okay. A lot of people didn't really like her, but I thought she was okay. I thought she was all right. I think I do agree, though. I do think she's a little bit more better in telling her story rather than trying to sell it in trial number 2.
After that day when you met with Miss Roberts and you try to memorialize your memory about what happened, after that date, have you discussed what happened that morning with other people?
Yes.
And have you discussed it with police over time?
Yes.
But I could see why witnesses would want to try to be very convincing when they're testifying on the stand instead of just being a little bit more like chill about it. Because there's so much publicity. There's so many eyes on this, you know, even by like trial number 1, people were already pointing the fingers at her. And so I think that's why she came across as someone who was just trying to really sell a story rather than just be a genuine witness who just wanted to tell her side of things and what happened through her eyes. I just think it's just because of publicity thing, you know? And then when you have all these eyes on you and then like, I don't know, every little movement, every little facial expressions, every like, you know, cadence in your speech, I think it's all going to be highly scrutinized. So the more that you think about all that, the more it's probably like freaking you out even more when you're testifying.
I have no further questions at this time.
I wonder if Brennan was like, okay, Jen, when you're testifying, we're going to just have you just like chill the fuck out, okay? Just chill the fuck out. Because I will say, I think that line of questioning was a lot different than Lolly. That one seems a little bit more chiller, I think. I don't know.
Good morning, Mr. McCabe.
Good morning.
When was the last time you spoke with Carrie Roberts before your testimony today?
She called me last night.
What did y'all discuss?
She asked if my daughters were going to be staying home from school today because her daughter would possibly join them.
Did you discuss anything having to do with your testimony?
Not my testimony, no.
Did you discuss anything in that conversation with her prior testimony?
No.
Are you aware that she testified last week?
Yes.
Did you discuss anything after that, after she testified with her about her testimony?
No.
We know that through her testimony that you had a conversation with her the morning that she testified.
Yes.
Right? Did you discuss what you anticipated to be her testimony in that conversation before she testified?
No.
Have you and Ms. Roberts ever discussed anything about either one of your testimonies, either in the last proceeding or in
Every pause screen, she does have that look that isn't helpful to her. Yeah, she's got the, I would say the perfect pause screen for like YouTube thumbnails. I bet you a lot of people are probably having fun with it.
anticipation of this proceeding?
No.
So for the entirety of the last year, even though you both went through a proceeding.
Yeah, y'all notice they're both wearing blue. I think her outfit today looks way better than yesterday. It looks more relaxed, chill, and I think color looks great. But they're both wearing blue.
Last year, where you both testified under oath, and it was highly, highly publicized. Neither one of you, your good friend Carrie Roberts and you, have ever discussed either of your testimonies between that time and this time.
No, we've discussed the case, and we've discussed what happened that moment, the moments of the morning, but we have not discussed testimony.
Okay, so let's break that down for a second. I'm talking.
But I mean, quite honestly, she just has really intense eyes. When I'm pausing through my streams or when I'm editing my video, I would say because sometimes I'm so animated in my facial expressions, there's a lot of unfortunate pauses for me too. Yeah, Sarah Boone had that one look for thumbnails everyone used. But with her, you can use any random screen grab to hate on her. Yeah, she just has really intense eyes, you know. Sometimes it just happens, okay?
About because the timing matters. I'm just asking at this point, if you'll bear with me, just a year from last year at a different proceeding to this year, you have discussed this case.
Yes.
With Ms. Roberts.
Many times, yes.
And you've discussed the specifics of her memory, which would be reflected in her testimony, correct?
We talked about what happened that morning.
So you were talking about what she remembers happening that morning, correct?
No, what happened that morning.
Okay, so not to put too fine a point on it, Ms. McCabe, but if you ask me,
is it me or does she look less tan today? I wonder if the blue kind of like adds coolness and like tones it down a little bit.
what I had for dinner last night, it's my memory of what I had for dinner last night. Would you agree with that?
Sustained.
Did you talk about her perception of what happened that morning during the last year?
We've talked about what has happened, yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to break it down between you and Ms. Roberts. You discussed her perceptions and her memory of what happened, as well as, and separate and apart from, your memory and your perceptions, correct?
Correct.
So there have been circumstances in which you and Ms. Roberts have compared, by definition, what she remembers versus what you remember, correct?
I wouldn't say compare.
Now let's move to well, what would you say in terms of what you've discussed and why?
I would say that we've both talked about what we've discussed, but it wasn't like a comparison. We weren't comparing anything.
You've talked about what you discussed. What does that mean? Talked about your testimony?
No, we've discussed what happened to that moment and in those moments. So, when I got a phone call, and that's my story. I got a phone call in the morning, and then Carrie can say, yeah, I got a phone call as well.
As you said, that's your story, correct?
Not my story. It's the truth. It's the truth.
Okay. So, for instance, when you got a phone call at 4:53 in the morning, Carrie Roberts wasn't there, correct?
Correct.
But you discussed that with her.
Correct.
And you told her what your perception of that, your memory of that phone call was, even though she was not recipient to and did not witness that phone call, correct?
I've told her about the phone call, correct.
As well as many other details that she was not privy to personally, correct?
Correct.
Conversations that you've had, for instance, conversations that you claim you've had with Ms. Reed, correct?
Correct.
And you've told her what your perception is of those conversations, or your memory was, or is, of those conversations with Ms. Reed, correct?
Which conversations with Ms.
Any
Reed?
conversations. Just anything that she wasn't privy to. You discussed that with her.
Some things, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And conversely, Ms. McCabe, obviously, she's also discussed certain perceptions and memories that she has about this case, the facts of this case that she recalls them, that you were not necessarily privy to, correct?
Yes.
Things that may have taken place outside your presence, correct?
Correct.
And you've talked about things, she's talked to you about things, now I'm getting myself confused. Y'all have talked about things that were outside of her perception and outside of your perception, and you've shared those with each other.
We've shared our experiences. We've become very close. We both lived through a traumatic experience.
How many times would you say you and Ms. Roberts have discussed your individual perceptions of what you remember happening on the 28th or the 29th of January 2022? How many times?
It would be hard to put a number on that. We talk about, it's hard. We're bonded. We talk about the trauma that we relive every day. Karen called us for help, and we both answered the phone.
And that bonding is the glue that holds you two together. Is this case, correct?
Yes.
So that probably, by definition, is the foundation of many, many, many of your conversations. Would you agree?
We've grown into friends where we talk about many other things besides the case.
Sure. The movie you saw last weekend and what kids are doing next week.
Yes, and yes, absolutely. We talk many different things, just like girlfriends do.
I'm just concerned with
Oh no, not the staples. She does, right? She does. It does remind me of the lunch lady hair. The lunch lady or the gym teacher hair too. Gym teachers be rocking that. At least my gym teachers did.
asking you about the subject matter of this case and the details and the facts of this case. You two have probably talked hundreds of times, that's fair to say, about your individual perceptions, your respective perceptions of this case, correct?
This happened 3 years ago, and we've talked about it time and time again. This case has traumatized us, so
And
it's a huge
talking
part of our lives.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, it's fine. I believe I meant traumatized our lives.
Okay. It would be impossible for you two to have had so many conversations about your respective perceptions of the details of that day without that influencing the other person, correct? And you've somehow been influenced by Ms. Roberts' perceptions and her memories, correct?
I don't think I would say influenced.
Would you say that she's been influenced by your perceptions and your memories?
Objection.
Would you say that, Ms. McCabe?
No, I wouldn't.
Next question.
How many times have you met with anybody from the DA's office? And I'm just going to limit the time frame right now in anticipation of your appearance in this trial.
No, my history teachers were always like so fucking awesome. I loved all my history teachers. It was always the English teachers that were like, ugh. English teachers and sometimes math teachers. No, actually, math teachers are kind of chill. I hated English teachers. But my high school English teachers were, no, it was a mixed bag. Most English teachers, but history teachers were pretty cool.
Yesterday and today.
I'd say roughly 4 or 5.
Can you give me a time frame when those 4 or 5
Taxi, what about black? I wear black all the time.
meetings were?
I don't have dates. I do remember at one point I met with Mr. Brennan. He was new to the case, so I went in and he introduced himself.
How long ago was that? Weeks or months?
Maybe I can't give you a time frame. I'm sorry.
Do you think it was last summer?
No.
Do you think it was?
No, it was more recent.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
sorry.
wasn't in the fall of last year?
No.
It was in 2025 sometime?
I believe so, yes.
You think it might have been February, January?
Again, I can't give you an exact. I'm sorry.
All right. I want to talk about the time frames of those conversations, and I'll ask you a little bit more about those conversations. So that was the first meeting that you had was with Mr. Brennan in anticipation of your testimony. What were the subsequent 4 meetings or so that you've had? With whom and approximately what time?
Okay, so another meeting with Mr. Brennan. Are you looking for who was
Sure.
there?
Who else was there?
I mean, can I give you a general answer? I didn't write down like every meeting who was there, but
Of course.
generally. Okay.
Was Mr. Lally there?
During 1 or 2 of the meetings, he was, yes.
Was Ms. McLaughlin there?
Yes.
Was there anybody else from the DA's office there?
The officer or trooper Tully was there at one. Trooper Buchanan was there at one. The witness advocates were there. And again, give or take the particular meeting.
Those are 2 meetings that you talked about with Mr. Brennan and others. What about the 3rd meeting?
No, I'm sorry. I was lumping a few of them together.
Sure, understood.
I apologize.
How many meetings would you have? Let's just start there.
I'm loving the row of people who are wearing green behind Karen Reed. Oh my God. Green looks so good, especially, I don't know. I always thought green looks really good with brunettes.
How many meetings have you had with Mr. Brennan and either staff or colleagues?
So after the first initial meeting, I would say, again, I didn't write them down. Off the top of my head, I can think of 2 or 3 more after that.
Okay.
Excuse me, first initial one.
So that's either 4 or 5 meetings with Mr. Brennan and some combination of his colleagues, Mr. Lally, Ms. McLaughlin perhaps, Mr. Nelson perhaps, the other employee of the DA's office, and Troopers Buchanan and Trooper Tully.
Correct.
You asked questions about in any of these meetings. I'm just going to lump them all together. Any of these 5 meetings. By the way, when was the most recent?
Last night, I had a Zoom call in regard. I think the court asked them to.
Yes, I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
I'm going to ask a different question, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to lead you through this question.
Okay.
You had a conversation last night. I'm not interested in that particular conversation. That was for a very specific purpose. I'm asking you about everything leading up to, but not including last night's conversation, okay?
Okay.
So let's just leave that one out. You had, I think you mentioned either 4 or 5 other meetings with Mr. Brennan and some combination of his colleagues and or law enforcement.
Yeah, and I might have, in the 5, included that one from last night.
Okay, fair enough. Were you asked questions in those, we're just going to call it 4 meetings. Were you asked questions during those 4 meetings about your testimony at the first proceeding last year?
I reviewed I did review some of my testimony, yes.
In what format?
I watched.
Paper transcript or?
No, we just watched a little bit of it.
Did you watch your direct examination?
A little bit, yes.
Did you watch your cross-examination?
A little, yes.
Who cross-examed you?
You did.
That was me.
Yes.
And did you watch the redirect or any part of it?
No.
Did you watch
Oh, yeah. I was wondering who cross-examined her last year. I honestly forgot. I wasn't sure if it was Mr. Yannetti who did it. Hey, what's up, Go Lucky Heart doing today?
any part of any subsequent version of recross or additional questions that you were asked?
I don't believe so, no.
Was there a specific area that Mr. Brennan asked you to look at and review in terms of your direct or your cross-examination?
No.
Did you watch the entirety of the direct examination and the entirety of the cross-examination?
I do not believe so, no.
Were you questioned by Mr. Brennan following your review of that direct and cross-examination?
No.
So he didn't ask you any questions about any of your answers?
He showed me dash cam and would ask me to point out who's this, who's that, a waterfall video, is this you, is this somebody? Those were the type of questions that he asked me.
What about any discussion about your demeanor and how you performed in the last proceeding? Objection.
Sustained.
I'll ask it a different way. What about your demeanor? I'm using probably a poor word, perform. How you came across your demeanor in the last proceeding? Objection.
Sustained.
Did you discuss?
Remember I was saying earlier that Brennan probably told her to chill the fuck out a little bit when she says, I understand.
Changing your demeanor in any way, shape, form, or fashion from the last trial to, the last proceeding to this trial, my mistake. From the last proceeding to this trial, was your demeanor ever discussed?
No, I was just told to slow down, answer the question, and answer it to the best of my memory.
Was there any discussion about talking about your background, for instance, your family and your children, and being a sports mom, as you talked about in your direct examination?
No, I believe I did that in the previous one as well.
Was there any discussion about crafting your testimony in any way to suggest a softer approach?
No.
Was there any discussion about how to develop your testimony from beginning to end?
Okay.
Sustained.
Did Mr. Brennan ask you about, or let me ask it a different way, did Mr. Brennan take you through a series of questions, for instance, as almost a test run of questions that you might be asked either on direct examination or cross-examination?
No.
Did you practice your testimony with any member of the DA's office?
No.
Were there any sessions where you sat and was subjected to a cross-examination, like a fake cross-examination or a fake direct examination?
No, there
Anything
wasn't.
like that?
No.
What were the things that stand out in your mind? You said you had at least 4 meetings. How long was each meeting, by the way, ish?
The first meeting, I think, was fairly quick. It was just the introduction.
30 minutes, less than 30 minutes?
I don't want to give it time because I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I was fairly quick, yes.
Okay. What about the second meeting?
Again, I don't know specific meetings, but I can tell you that there was a longer one where I did watch some dash cam video, look at different pictures, things like that.
What kind of pictures did you look at, other than the dash cam video?
The pictures of John's house.
Okay. The same photos that we saw today?
Yes.
How long in total would you say all of those meetings were? Just taking them all together.
I really can't give you an estimate. I think the first one was fairly quick. The second one, one of them was a little bit longer, maybe a couple hours.
Okay. Then the third one, was that also a couple hours, or was that one fairly quick?
That was fairly quick, yes.
So fair to say between 2, 3, 4 hours total meeting times?
Again, I'd have to probably go back and look at the date and the time. I really can't give you a specific amount of time. I apologize.
Did Trooper Tully or Trooper Buchanan ask you any questions during the course of any of these meetings?
Regarding the case, no, but we did briefly talk about how my kids were, how their kids were.
But they didn't ask you any questions about your testimony, about about the case, about your memories, about specific facts?
I do not believe so, no.
During any of these meetings, was anybody taking notes? Ms. McLaughlin?
I have the Law and Crime live stream up. Someone in the chat wrote biasness. I think they're trying to spell biasness. I don't know. Maybe they're trolling.
Mr. Lally, Mr. Brennan, any of the troopers?
No, I don't believe so.
So there was several hours worth of meetings.
They wrote I'm so sick of all the biasness
with you, and nobody scribed any notes that you saw.
None that I saw, no.
And these meetings were not recorded?
I do not believe so, no.
Ms. McCabe, I'm going to ask you a series of questions about your family because I just want to make sure it's crystal clear who's who. You're married to Matt McCabe, correct?
Yes.
Your sister is Nicole Albert.
Yes.
Nicole is married to Brian Albert.
Yes.
It was Brian Albert's home that you were at, 34 Fairview, that you arrived at, where John's body was found, correct?
Yes.
The same home where that late-night gathering was on January 28th, going into the morning of the 29th, correct?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself to be close with your sister Nicole and Brian?
Yes, very close.
Your families, it's not just you and Nicole, your whole families are close, correct?
Yes, we have a very close family.
How long have you known Brian Albert?
Since I was in kindergarten.
You consider him, even though he is not blood related to you, you consider him family?
Yes.
In addition to Brian and Nicole Albert, you're also very close with Chris and Julie Albert, correct?
Yes.
Just to be clear, I'm going to do this slowly.
Okay.
Brian Albert's younger brother is Chris Albert, correct?
Yes.
Chris Albert is married to Julie Albert.
Yes.
You consider Chris and Julie family, even though there may not be a blood relation as well, correct?
Yes.
Chris Albert is a Canton Select Board member, is that right?
Now he is, yes.
And the Canton, that's in Canton? I said Select Board member, did I mention Canton Select Board member?
It is in Canton,
okay.
yes.
All right, obviously it's in Canton. The Canton Police Department reports to the Select Board, correct?
I'm not aware.
You're not aware of that echelon?
No.
Okay. You're aware that Brian Albert, your friend of, I'm not going to say how many years, but since kindergarten, was a Boston police officer.
Yes.
He had been a lifetime law enforcement officer for some 30 years before he retired recently, correct?
Yes.
He's a trained first responder, obviously.
Yes.
Brian Albert and Chris Albert have another brother named Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes.
Kevin Albert is a detective with a police department, correct?
Yes, I believe that's his title. I'm not 100%.
Which police department is Kevin Albert associated with?
Canton.
And you've grown up in Canton your whole life, you indicated?
Yes.
Your entire family has grown up in Canton, correct?
Yes.
And you, Ms. McCabe, have 3 sisters. Nicole, we've talked about. You also have a sister named Shelley, is that right?
Michelle, yes.
Michelle? Mm-hmm. And Denise, who you mentioned in your direct examination.
Yes.
Nicole is also known by nickname, is that right?
Yes.
What is Nicole's nickname within the family?
Coco.
Does Shelley also have a nickname? Well, I guess Shelley is the
Yeah,
shortened
Shelley
name for
is.
Michelle, correct?
Yes.
What about Denise?
She's Dee Dee.
Dee Dee?
Yeah, Deedeee.
What's her nickname? Gigi? Furfur? Jen?
Your father lives close by in a neighboring town, correct?
Yes.
Don't tell me the town, but it's relatively close to Canton.
20 minutes, yes.
Okay. His name is Tom Weeks.
Yes.
There are, I'm not going to go through all of them right now because the family tree is getting large, but there are children, cousins, second cousins, nephews, aunts, uncles. There's a combination of familial relations within that.
Oh, do we know where did they get the jury from this time? What city? Because I think last time the jury, weren't they brought over from another county that was like an hour away? Or am I thinking of Delphi? Do y'all know where the jury came from?
Set of folks that I just talked about, Chris and Brian and Nicole and you and Matt and the folks that we just talked about.
Yes.
That family, that large family, celebrates holidays together, I'm guessing?
We don't typically, celebrate with Kevin and Chris, but my family does, yes.
Along with Brian, Albert, and Nicole?
Yes, of course.
Birthdays are celebrated within that family?
Yes.
Go on vacations together, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Gatherings like the one on the 28th?
Yes.
Special events?
Yes.
Spend weekends together?
Yes.
You mentioned a lot of sporting events. There's a lot of sporting events that y'all go to together?
Yes.
So it is very, very easy to see that it's an extremely close-knit family.
Yes.
And naturally, you're very protective of your family, as anybody would be.
Yes, I love my family.
You also said that you knew, and your words, liked Karen Reed, my client, on the 28th of January 2022, correct?
Yes.
But she very much is not family, correct?
Correct.
She certainly was not as important to you as your actual family, the Alberts, the McCabes, the folks associated with them. Is that right?
Yes.
On January 28th, 2022, members of the Albert family and the McCabe family all went to a bar together, had drinks together that night, Waterfall. We've heard a little bit about that, correct?
Correct.
Ultimately, you went back to your sister's house for the after party that we've heard so much about. That was at Brian Albert's house, is that right?
Yes.
You've been interviewed, I think you indicated multiple times. You didn't even get a number of how many times you've been interviewed by police in this case, is that right?
Yes.
Your family is connected to people at Boston Police Department. We just talked about that, Brian Albert, is that right?
Well, Brian was a Boston police officer.
Right. So when I say connected,
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Because they are in Norfolk County, if I remember correctly.
there's some familial or family or friendly connection to that police agency, Boston Police Department. It'd be Brian Albert in this case, correct?
The objection sustained.
There's also a connection to the Massachusetts State Police through your family, is that right?
Objection.
So define connection.
Julie and Chris Albert are very, very close to you. Right.
I'm close with Julie and Chris, yes.
You're aware that Michael Proctor's sister, Courtney, is basically best friends with Julie.
No, I'm not aware of that. She's best friends with Julie's sister, Jillian.
Okay, so Courtney's best friends with Jillian, who's sisters to Julie,
Yes.
who's married to Chris, who's an Albert, who's the little brother of Brian Albert.
Yes.
Okay.
What?
And Kenton Police Department. There's also some connections there as well. Kevin Albert being the most obvious of them.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Do you have a connection with the Canton Police Department?
Not with the department, but with Kevin Albert.
Right, who's a member of the department.
Yes, but my relationship's with him.
Understood. You've indicated that you've been interviewed by law enforcement agents associated with Massachusetts State, with Canton Police Department. That'd be Officer Lank.
Yes.
Can I stop
Officer
you for a
Good.
second and see counsel at sidebar, please?
Sure.
Okay, I think this is where we get the long sidebar for like an hour. Oh, thank goodness. We can just zoom through. And we're back. Oh, everyone be wearing their greens and blues today. All right, guys, what do you guys think of the cross-examination so far? I wonder if the jury is just
Jackson,
really...
go right ahead.
I wonder if the jury is just really confused why so many other names are being brought in.
Thank you, Your Honor. When last we left off, we were talking a little bit about some of the familial connections that your family has with certain law enforcement agencies. We talked about Boston Police Department, obviously, Brian Albert. We talked a little bit about Massachusetts State Police and knowing friends of friends with regard to Chris and Julie, correct?
Objection.
Knowing friends of Chris and Julie?
Friends of friends of Chris and Julie.
Is that your relationship?
With who?
I'd ask you about. I'll ask you a different question.
Okay.
A little bit vague. Courtney Proctor is friends with Julie's sister.
Yes.
And obviously Courtney also knows Julie and Chris, correct?
Sustained.
And there's also a connection to Canton Police Department through Kevin Albert. Is that right?
Objection.
Can
Hey,
you answer that?
Maverick.
Is there a connection? Do you have a connection with the Canton Police Department through Kevin Albert?
Not with the police department, but Kevin Albert is Brian Albert's brother.
Right. And Kevin works for whom?
The Canton Police.
Thank you. So you've been interviewed many times by different law enforcement agencies, be they Massachusetts State Police, Canton Police, or otherwise, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Those interviews have not just been over the period of weeks, it's been over the period of weeks and months and even years since this occurred, correct?
Yes.
You were contacted by another law enforcement agency that was not Massachusetts State Police and not Canton Police Department at one point in April of 2023. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I want to talk for a second about that series of interview, or that interview. You were contacted at your residence by these members of this law enforcement agency, correct?
Yes.
All right. Later that same day, you did sit down with those same law enforcement officers for a formal interview.
On that.
On that same day that you were contacted by them, they also went into your home and actually interviewed you, correct?
Yes, it was brief.
All right. Those law enforcement officers identified themselves as being associated with an agency that is not Massachusetts State Police. You understood that?
Yes.
And you understood that they were not involved with Canton Police Department either, correct?
Correct.
Completely separate agency, is that right?
Yes.
During the course of that...
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like the jury's going to be really confused because to introduce a conspiracy right now through Jen McCabe as a witness without properly laying out the conspiracy in front of the jury, I don't know, man. I feel like it might be too confusing. But maybe they'll remember Jen McCabe's cross-examination by the time defense presents their side.
That interview, those officers informed you very specifically, Ms. McCabe, that it is a crime to lie to them, even during an interview, correct?
How's your mother, sister, only son's wife's son related to you?
Yes.
Incest. What?
Those law enforcement officers informed you that they were investigating certain circumstances attendant to John O'Keefe's death, correct?
They were very vague on what they were.
Understood.
I don't know what they were investigating.
But you did understand that it was having something to do with your involvement at 34 Fairview on January 28th, 29th, 2022. As a witness or otherwise?
Objection. Sustained as to certain terminology.
Aware of the subject matter of their interview, right? They weren't interviewing about a car you bought last year, correct?
Correct.
They were interviewing you basically about what you're testifying to here, correct?
When I first spoke with them, the conversation was pretty vague.
But the subject matter, vague or specific, was about this subject matter.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. They first contacted you telephonically, called you on the phone. Is that right?
Actually, they walked up to my car.
They walked up to your car?
Yes.
Okay, that was the very first introduction, correct?
Yes.
At that point, they had not identified themselves, correct?
They didn't know.
All right, and at that point, you told them that you were not Jennifer McCabe. They asked you who you were, and you said, I'm Nicole.
I thought they were like selling something, so I was like, oh no, I'm not the homeowner.
Fair enough, fair enough. However, after you said, I'm not Jennifer McCabe, you walked into the house, they then called you on the phone.
Yes.
They were still sitting outside your house.
I don't know where they were, but they did call me.
They were close by.
I'm not aware.
Well, the call came almost immediately after you walked back in the house, correct?
I'm not sure how much time had passed.
Give me an idea. It wasn't an hour. It was
No, it was
5 to
soon
10 minutes.
after. I'm just not sure. I can't tell you where they were located. I'm sorry.
Okay. They told you that they would, at that point, they identified themselves as being law enforcement agents, correct?
When they called me, yes.
Yeah, because I don't know. I wonder if the throwing the conspiracy out there, I don't know if that's helpful for the jurors. I think the jury in trial number 1 found it to be confusing in a way that they just thought the defense team were just trying to distract from what the state was presenting. And I don't think they said they found that helpful. However, Karen Reed does have an attorney that's consulting them right now, and she was one of the I think she's like an alt juror or something like that from trial number 1. But if I was a jury right now and I didn't know shit about this case, I'd be like, why the fuck do we care about all these other people? Who are these people?
And they told you at that time that they were not with Canton Police. You knew at least they were not with Canton Police Department. They were not troopers with Massachusetts State Police, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And they told you that they would like to have an interview with you. They'd like to have a sit-down talk with you, correct?
Yes.
Hey, Sean.
You told them that you would be willing to submit to an interview, but you needed about 10 minutes to get ready, correct?
Yes.
Australian mushroom murder trial finally started. How's the court system in Australia? Is it more similar to how they do things in the UK?
You ultimately did allow them into your home, and you did sit down for a formal interview with them, correct?
Yes, brief, but yes.
And it was during that formal interview inside the home that it was explained to you that it would be a crime for you to lie to them on any material issue, correct?
Yes.
During the course of your interview, your husband, Matt McCabe, came home. Is that right?
Yes.
As these law enforcement agents continue to question you, these law enforcement officers continue to question you at some point, you informed them that you did not feel comfortable with any further questioning and you suspended the interview, correct?
Yes.
Before leaving, however, those same law enforcement officers asked you if you had contacted anyone in those 10 minutes when you indicated, I need 10 minutes to get ready, between the time they called you and the time that they showed up and came inside your house, correct?
Yes.
You told them that you had contacted your husband, Matt McCabe.
Yes.
Which is why he came home, right?
Yes.
And you told them that you had called Carrie Roberts before they interviewed you, correct? At that moment.
I'm not 100% sure, but if you have it, it seems like something I would do, but if you have it, could show me.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor,
Sure.
recollection as to whether or not, as to what you told those agents initially, I'm sorry, what you told those officers initially from that other law enforcement agency, about who you contacted in that 10-minute interval?
Yes, I told them.
And you told them that you had contacted your husband, Matt McCabe,
Yes.
and Kerry Roberts.
Correct.
I want to stick with that for just a quick second. One of the first calls you made after being contacted by these other law enforcement officers from a different agency, one of the first calls you made was to Kerry Roberts. Is that right?
She was the first one.
That's what I'm asking. One of the first two calls you made, your husband,
Right.
come home, there's law enforcement outside my door, I'm guessing is what you said, correct?
I don't remember my exact words now, but I did ask him to come home. Correct.
And
I wonder if they're going to have the husband testify. I don't think they should let the husband testify. Don't bring Matt McCabe in.
Kerry Roberts,
Okay. Yes.
you wanted to let Ms. Roberts know that you had been contacted by certain officers from a different agency, correct?
I was curious if they'd already been to her.
That
Because-
was my next question.
yeah.
You also wanted to find out had these law enforcement officers from this different agency contacted her, correct?
Yes, because typically if you enter
Yes
our
or no?
town, she's.
Ms. McCabe, yes or no?
Oh, sorry, I was just trying to
That's
explain.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Is that why you contacted her, to find out if, in fact, they had contacted her before you? Yes or no?
Yes.
And you also...
Oh my God, Pookie. The worst is when you're completely having a good old fine day and then people come up to you and they're like, what's wrong? Like, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong. I'm fine. My face just looks like this. God damn it.
to find out what she told them, if she had been contacted by them, correct? That was your motive in calling her.
No.
So you just wanted to find out, had she been contacted, but
Yes.
if she had said yes, you weren't going to say, and what the hell did they say? What did they ask you?
Well, I can't say what I would have answered, what I would have asked her, but I know I was calling to see if they had been there. Yes,
That
is
was
correct.
your intent.
I called to ask her if they had been there. Yes.
So that was your intent, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Your motive in calling Kerry Roberts at that moment, before your interview, was to ensure that your story would line up with her story, Ms. McCabe. Isn't that right?
No, that is not.
You wanted to find out if she had talked to these particular law enforcement officers and what she had told them, so that your story could somehow align, or it could inform how you responded to questions that they asked you. Isn't that true?
That's not true. We both know what happened. We don't have to have a story. There is no story. There's what happened, and that's
so,
it.
So if that's true, Ms. McCabe, you have no reason to call Kerry and ask her if she'd been contacted by these law enforcement agents, because it's just the truth, correct?
We're going through this whole experience together. We call each other about everything.
There would
That's
be no
nothing
reason.
more than that.
So
I'm sorry.
Let her finish her answer. Go ahead, Ms. McCabe. You can finish that.
There's nothing more than me calling and saying, hey, did they come to your house? That's what we did when the media showed up, when Ms. Reed's private investigator showed up. We just give each other the heads up, hey, somebody's coming. Because we're just like normal moms. We're not used to this.
And that's helpful in making sure that the stories she tells are consistent with the stories you tell to different law enforcement agencies, correct?
No, we are not telling stories.
So let her finish. You said no what?
I said, no, we're not telling stories. We don't have to compare.
And if in fact what you were telling was just the truth, there'd be no reason for you to inquire about who's contacted her when. There'd be no reason.
There's no inquiring. It's like when when the ice cream truck was at the street next door and I'm saying, did the ice cream truck come? It's really that simple.
So you asked a question,
Not that nice,
an argumentative question, and she responded in kind. Next question.
Thank you.
Jackson.
You also testified in your direct examination, staying with Ms. Roberts for just a second, about a timeline that you and Ms. Roberts put together, correct?
Yes.
That's another example of the two of you talking about your own perceptions and comparing and contrasting those perceptions and putting it down in front of you, correct?
No,
Yes or no?
it's a no. Can I explain or no?
I'm sure Mr. Brennan will have follow-up questions. After you gave that answer to those law enforcement officers at that separate law enforcement agency, they asked you, was there anyone else that you contacted in that 10-minute period before we got a chance to talk to you? And your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
And that was a lie, correct?
It wasn't a lie, no.
Was it true?
I-
Was it the truth or a lie?
It wasn't a lie.
Okay, so it was the truth. You had not spoken to any other person between the time they contacted you telephonically and you said, I need 10 minutes, and then they came in the door. During that part of time, you didn't talk to anybody else or contact anybody else other than Matt McCabe, Kerry Roberts. Now you're testifying. That was a true statement.
I can't answer that yes or no.
It's pretty binary. Had you talked, well, let me ask you this. In point of fact, you did talk to other people. That you contacted others, in addition to Matt McCabe and Carrie Roberts, correct? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so when you said no to the answer, did you contact anyone other than Matt and Carrie? That would be, by definition, Ms. McCabe, a lie, correct?
No.
It's not a lie? Is there some shade of lie that I'm not aware of?
It's the way you're asking the question. If
Okay,
I could
let me ask it a
explain,
different
if I could explain,
Let me ask it
it
a
will
different
make
way.
more sense to you.
The agents asked you, let me go over this one more time, then I'm going to move on. The agents asked you, in fact, did you contact anyone between the time we called you and set up the interview and the 10 minutes before we walked in the door? They asked you that question, correct?
The objection sustained. Watch the choice of language.
I'm sorry. I meant the law enforcement agency. That law enforcement agency, the members of that law enforcement agency contacted you. Sorry. They asked you who you had contacted between the time they first telephoned you and walked in the door 10 minutes later, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Data point number one. Data point number two, you told them Matt and Carrie, correct?
Correct.
You had actually contacted, they then asked you, did you contact anyone else other than Matt and Carrie, correct?
Correct.
And you said no. Is that correct?
At that moment, I said no, yes.
Correct. At any moment.
No, at that moment, because they had just come in my house.
I asked you,
Only one person can talk at a time.
you said the word no, correct?
She was finishing her answer. Finish your answer.
I had said no because I was in a situation where there are two officers from a different agent had come in, were asking me questions, or they had said, can I come in and ask you questions? At first I thought they were selling something, then they identified themselves. I just dropped my kids off at school. Going to be completely honest, I hadn't brushed my teeth. So I kind of made some phone
Objection, Your
calls.
Honor. This is not
That's
responsive.
it. So next question. Mr.
Thank you. Ms. McCabe, after you said no, that you hadn't contacted anybody else, those two law enforcement officers from that separate agency who had told you it was a crime to lie to them, they left, correct?
Yes.
Subsequent to that, Mr. McCabe, your husband,
Objection.
Sustained.
Boo, Aaron. Boo.
they left you their card so you could call them if need be, correct?
Yes, they did.
And you, in fact, did call them back, correct?
Yes, I did.
Without telling me the content of the conversation you had,
See
did
ya,
you have a
Aaron.
conversation with Mr. McCabe?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you call them back and say, I'm calling you back because my husband told me
Objection.
that I lied to you, and I better clear that lie up?
So sustained. Jurors, remember I told you before that only answers to questions are evidence? Be mindful of that.
May we-
Next, yes.
I will say that when you have it sped up, it does seem a little bit more flustered than what it probably is in real life. Oh, look at Mr. Yeah, Daddy being nice. Daddy.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. You ultimately called these officers back, correct?
Yes.
And you explained to them that you had been untruthful with them, correct?
I explained that I had forgotten to mention a couple people that I had reached out to.
You had forgotten. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
You had forgotten. You remembered Matt and you remembered Carrie, but you had forgotten the others that you had just contacted maybe 30 minutes before.
Yes.
There were 5 people that you contacted, weren't there?
I contacted Matt.
Let's go through them. I'm
Yeah.
just asking yes or no.
I know 4 off the top of my head.
Okay, let's go through them.
Okay.
You contacted your husband, correct?
Yes.
You contacted Carrie Roberts, correct?
Yes.
You contacted Peggy O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
Then, Ms. McCabe, you contacted the district attorney's office, correct?
My witness advocate.
The district attorney's office.
My witness advocate who works for the district attorney's
Thank you,
office.
Ms. McCabe.
Yes.
And you also left out that you contacted Brian Albert himself, correct?
Yes.
In 2023, there are approximately 24,000 residents of Canton. Hey, Amanda. Just a very demonstrable difference between this and Sarah Boone because this chick made one call for an attorney and stuck with Yannetti. Meanwhile, dun dun.
My brother-in-law.
For some reason, your brother-in-law, who's the 30-year Boston police detective, correct?
Yes.
And on whose lawn John O'Keefe was found dead or dying,
Objection.
I'll allow that.
correct?
Yes.
For some reason, you did not want these officers to know that you had communicated specifically with Brian Albert, the homeowner, just before you talked to them, correct?
No, incorrect.
There was some reason that was important enough for you to lie about that, even though you had been admonished that it's a crime to lie about that to those officers, correct?
Incorrect. I didn't lie to them. I had forgotten who I had called.
And all of a sudden, you had an epiphany right after they walked out the door?
Yes. Matt said, who have you spoken to?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it. It's out. You're not to go any further.
I mean, is it really that bad that, like, yes, it could look like that she was trying to hide something, but she told them immediately afterwards, right? If she really wanted to conceal that, why would she tell them afterwards? Like, oh, actually, I forgot that I talked to Brian Albert, the homeowner. Are they trying to say that because she was admonished, saying that, like, okay, well, if you're lying, you might get in trouble, And then she's like, oh, we actually, you know what? I don't want to get in trouble. So yeah, I forgot. I talked to blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Ms. McCabe, I want to draw your attention to January 28th. You had gone out drinking with your family at the Waterfall Bar and Grill, correct?
I went with my husband and met my sister, yes.
And met the other family, correct? The other family members, meaning
My niece.
Matt McCabe, Nicole, Chris, Julie, Caitlin, correct?
Yes.
And I think you mentioned Tristan was there as well?
Yes.
You were later joined by Nick and Karina Kolakithis, is that right?
Yes.
Ultimately, Brian Higgins showed up,
Yes.
and Brian Albert showed up.
Yes.
Higgins.
You previously indicated that Caitlin's boyfriend, Tristan, left early for whatever reason. He had errands to run or had to get to bed early for some reason, is that right?
He left before us, yes.
So he didn't stay through the shank of the evening?
Through the what?
The shank of the evening, through the course of the evening.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
The what now? Is that a phrase? The shank of the evening?
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And ultimately, at the Waterfall, John O'Keefe and Miss Reed showed up as well.
Yes.
You didn't see any tension at all between John O'Keefe and Karen that night, did you?
No, I didn't.
They appeared to be getting along?
Yeah. Yes.
Sort of a normal couple having a nice evening out together?
Yes.
Neither John nor Karen Reed appeared drunk or inebriated, out of sorts?
No, I wouldn't categorize them as drunk or inebriated.
And not-
But again, I don't know what the definition of drunk is.
Well, that's a fair statement. I'm not asking for their BAC, but they didn't appear to be stumbling around, falling all over themselves, and sloppy drunk, correct?
No.
Out of control, nothing like that?
Nope.
Okay. You did see Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at a high top table sort of together through the course of that evening, correct?
We were all kind of around like a long high top table.
And John O'Keefe, and as you look at I'm going to use the perspective of the video that we've seen, that camera angle that we've seen, John O'Keefe and Miss Reed were sort of further off in the corner, closer to the bar rather than to the tables, correct? Along with the Kolakithises and those, and you, as a matter of fact.
Oh my God, this is random, but tell me why I ordered a body scrubber from Amazon and it arrived, the box was busted open, and then I took the body scrubber out and there's a piece of hair. I don't know if they shipped it like that and it was just a used product, or if one of my neighbors opened the package and thought it was theirs and used it and then realized it wasn't theirs and then repackaged it. I don't know. I was like, what the fuck is this? It was so nasty.
Yes, at different times, everyone was kind of moving around. I spent the majority of the time that Karen and John were there speaking with Karen.
And that was sort of over toward the bar.
We weren't in the bar, we were at the table, so it was one side of the table and the other. It wasn't like far away.
Right.
Kind of, yeah.
I'm using the bar sort of as a landmark for nothing. I didn't mean you were sidled up to the bar, but just sort of as a landmark. You were closer to the bar than, for instance, in the foreground, which would be the high top tables in the foreground, correct?
We were just on the other, I'm confused about this. We were just on the other side of the table.
Okay. You did see on the opposite side of that high top table, that's where Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were standing, talking, and communicating with each other. Is that right?
I believe so. I was talking to Miss Reed. I wasn't really paying attention to them.
Did you ever see those two men get physical with one another that night?
I did not that night. I did not see that.
Have you ever seen a full review in all the hours that you've sort of prepped for your testimony? Have you been shown that Waterfall video from the time you got there until the time you left?
Not the full video, but I have seen a good portion of it, yes.
Okay, and you've certainly seen the portion where Brian Albert and Brian Higgins get up from the table and sort of get physical with one another, correct?
I don't know if they're really going to go with this narrative. I mean, yeah, you could say get physical, but then once you show the jury, it just looks like dudes that are just drunk and they're just man wrestling. I don't know. Like, I feel like you have to be careful what you represent to the jury, because when they see with their own eyes, if they feel like you're exaggerating, they might feel like you might be exaggerating on other issues, you know? I don't know. It just looks like two dudes are just like man wrestling. Like, grow up.
I would say more like play fighting, and Nick Kolakithis was a little bit like doing it with them as well.
Okay, so the physical part is, all I'm asking is, did they touch each other? Yes.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And you described it as play fighting, correct?
But I don't, if we could watch the video, it might explain it better than I could.
We probably will.
Oh, okay.
But right now I'm just asking about your memory.
Hi, Shaniqua. Oh my gosh, how are you? Hello, I'm in the room waiting for your turn. Oh, what is this again? The lady who possibly killed her boyfriend with her car. Yes, Karen Reed is the one who's on the bottom right. She's a defendant. And the witness is testifying, Jen McCabe. Jen McCabe is a very high interest witness because either she's really close friends with John, the victim, and she had nothing to do with his death, or she's part of a conspiracy cover-up to frame Karen Reed, the defendant. So people are very divided about this. Not yay that you're a thing, just yay that you're here. I made everyone in the tire place listen to this early because I forgot headphones. Oh no. Do you have a flat tire right now? I have low air. I think I have like low air in my tires right now.
You remember them swearing off on one another, playing, but swearing off on one another?
I don't remember them squaring off. Like I said, I just watched the video. I don't remember it from that night, and I didn't really pay attention. It looked like foolish, like
two grown-ass men ass grabbing.
guys, just I don't even know how to describe it.
From your
What was that
perspective, having watched the
movement?
video, it appeared that they squared off on each other and sort of took fighting stance.
I didn't look at it that in depth, so I could not say that.
Did you see them walk up to each other and grapple with one another? Like they were always punching each other.
Right.
I get that. When they grapple with one another, like faking punches to each other.
I don't know.
Almost like sparring a little bit.
I don't honestly know.
But you did see
I saw them together. It's blurry, and they're kind of, I don't know really what they're doing.
Okay, but they weren't standing there holding hands, right?
Oh, God, no. No.
They were ass grabbing.
They weren't on their phones, right?
They were engaging with each other, playfully, grabbing at each other. I don't really.
What? Okay, I'm so confused. What like these movements that she's doing though? Why is she going like this and like this, like this? I just remember they were just like kind of like doing this, and they're just like wrestling each other. Jen over here doing like some dances or some shit like that. I don't know what I don't know what she's doing. Here, I'll slow it down. I do have it sped up. Here, I'll slow it down. Maybe she looks a little bit less crazy or something. Because she looks wild sped up. Oh God.
I don't honestly know.
But you did see.
I saw them together. It's blurry, and they're kind of, I don't know really what they're doing.
Okay, but they weren't standing there holding hands, right?
Oh, God, no. No.
They weren't on their phones, right?
They were engaging with each other playfully.
I don't know. It still looks bad at regular speed. Playfully.
Grabbing at each other. I don't really.
Playfully grabbing each other, play fighting, correct? That's my point.
I'd have to watch the video to categorize it as play fighting.
You don't have that in your head?
I didn't. No, it was a quick
I should have that as my thumbnail.
clip. I wasn't like focusing on Brian and Brian. I was just identifying that was myself in the video, and there was Miss Reed, and I believe Miss Reed actually did some play fighting to Matt.
There was, in fact, to Matt.
Yeah, I feel like she was about like this to Matt at one point. Yeah, in the video.
So let's talk about Brian and Brian. Brian Higgins and Brian Albert. Those two men, very large in stature, correct?
They're the guys. Yeah.
Big boys. A lot bigger than me, right?
Yeah.
They took a fighting stance with each other and started grappling, playing, coming toward each other as if they were engaging in a fake physical altercation, correct?
I did not see that. I'm sorry.
Okay. You didn't even see it on video.
I saw.
Man, I think we're building it up way too much for the jury now. Because now the jury, they're like, oh shit, I can't wait to see this video. Something's going on with this video over here. They're making such a big deal about it. I feel like when they watch it, they're just gonna be like, what the fuck is this?
On the video, grabbing at each other. I didn't see stances but again, I didn't pay much attention to it.
And that's your best memory as you sit here today?
Yes.
Okay. Eventually, you, your husband, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Nicole, Caitlin, everybody went over to 34 Fairview at the end of the night,
Yes.
correct? The bar closed at, I'm guessing, midnight.
Okay.
Is that right?
I think we were wrapping up around then. I don't know what time it actually closed.
Who's ass grabbing? Why wasn't I invited?
When you left Waterfall, the people that were still there included Matt, your husband, and John O'Keefe. Is that right?
Yes.
You walked out with Karina Kolakithis and Karen Reed.
Yes.
And you said to Miss Reed something along the lines of, you're coming with me, correct?
I said, why don't you come with me?
Okay, fair enough. You were prompting her to join you for the ride over to 34 Fairview. Is that right?
Yes.
You even went outside and sort of waited in the cold. There's a video. Have you seen the video of you outside? The surveillance video of you outside in the cold?
Yes.
And you're sort of waiting. There, moving from foot to foot,
Shit, my bad.
like it's freezing out, which I'm sure it was, correct?
Yes.
In a big
I was saying that like what the defense is trying to show right now, and I'm sure the jury's gonna be really confused because they don't have a full grasp of the whole conspiracy thing, but because we are here, okay, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm just gonna spoil it for you guys. Defense is trying to say that the men were doing the wrestling thing because they're getting aggressive at the bar. They're like, getting a little bit like fighty, and that those are the two men that could possibly be involved in maybe beating up John O'Keefe. And then they're trying to say that Jen McCabe, well, she was also trying to lure Karen Reed to the house by telling her like, hey, why don't you come ride with me? And then later on, through other testimony, when they look at the footage, I'm sure they're going to try to say that Brian Higgins, who was doing the ass-grabbing wrestling thing, was also trying to lure John O'Keefe to the house as well so they could all jump him or something like that. Sorry, the ghost of Elaine is haunting me, okay? I'm going to just blame it on Elaine.
puffy coat of some kind, right?
So the question was, I moving foot to foot in a coat? Yes.
My question is more, did you see yourself waiting outside in the cold?
I saw myself convert. I believe I was in a conversation at that point when I was standing out there with John and Karen.
And that's when you were asking Karen to come with you?
No, I had asked Karen previously when we were at the door to come with me because I didn't know how long Matt and John were going to be in the bar because they were in there still.
And that would have, by definition, brought Karen to 34 Fairview.
Oh, did you guys see the latest episode of The Last of Us season 2, episode 3? Thoughts on episode 3? I mean, we knew episode 2 was hard to watch, but did y'all watch episode 3 by chance?
Separate and apart from John O'Keefe if Karen had come with you.
Yes.
So,
Oh, you haven't seen episode 3? Okay.
Ms. Reed ultimately declined your invitation and did go with John. Is that right?
John ended up coming to the door, so they just went together, yes.
Then finally you walked away and went with your husband Matt over to 34 Fairview in your personal vehicle, correct?
Yes.
When you arrived at 34 Fairview, were you the first among the group that we've just talked about to arrive, or had others arrived before you?
Others had arrived before me.
When you walked in to 34 Fairview, where was everybody generally located? Give me a layout of the interior of the home, how you walked in, and where everybody was located, the people that were there when you walked in from the Waterfall.
Oh, your husband's making us holding off so we can binge a few more hours. I'm so bitter. My brother did that with White Lotus. And honestly, I think that might be a good strategy, Jen. Just binge watch it. I feel like if you're doing one episode by episode, I don't know. I think binge watch would be better. Because White Lotus, I felt like if I had to wait all over again for each episode to fucking come out for the latest season, it was just so irritating. I think to binge watch it would have been better because I felt like each episode, nothing was fucking happening in White Lotus. It was like small little stuff. You haven't yet, but you don't feel like you will. Jen, did you ever watch the video games or play the video games or anything like that?
So I walked in through the front door. I took a right into the kitchen. And then there were people sitting around the kitchen table, Brian Albert Jr., Julie Nagel, Sarah Levinson, Caitlin Albert. My sister was over more towards like the counters and the sink, and Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were, there's like a room right off of the kitchen, like a TV room, and they were in there just talking. I think Nicole had like put up some new pictures, so, or maybe the Sun and the Marines. They might have been looking at a picture. Vaguely have a faint memory of that.
You indicated that you walked in the front door, correct?
Yes.
May I approach briefly?
Yes.
Can you photograph?
Yes.
What do you, Brian Albert's house as well?
Yes.
All right.
Location's fine. Right now.
The other issue can be resolved. With court's permission, I'm going to show a different exhibit until the other issue can be resolved.
Oh, Yellowstone. I wanted to start Yellowstone. I heard it's really good. Yeah, maybe. The guy who's in The Last of Us with the whole Blake Lively drama and the Justin Baldoni thing. Oh my God. He's in a new TV show called Yellowstone. I was hearing good things about it. I think Helen Mirren's in it, and who's the other main character that's in it as well? I heard it's real good. They should have made it into a limited series.
Resolved with the court's permission. Commonwealth Exhibit 3. Permission to publish?
Yes.
Ms. Wall, could you highlight or enlarge the house as much as you can? Thank you. Ms. McCabe, do you recognize what's depicted in this photo? I know it's a little bit of an angle.
Yes.
What is that?
That is 34 Fairview.
Oh.
No, he's talking about Jen McCabe.
Okay. Can you, I think this laser will work. May I approach?
Yes.
Use that laser
Oh, hi, Jessica, by the way. Hello, hello.
and point to the front door that you entered when you walked in the house. Okay, that's directly in the middle of the just to the left of the flagpole for this purposes of this photograph, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there another entry door on the house that you may not be able to see, but you know the general area?
Yes.
Where's that door?
So that would be, see where these two windows are?
Yes.
The door would be kind of behind that right there. So it's right to the left of those two windows.
And Ms. McCabe, just staying with doors for a second, is there another door associated with the garage?
Oh, actually, yeah, there is. Right there.
Right there next to that side door?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Yes.
You indicated that once inside the house, you were sort of in the kitchen area. Is that right?
I was in the kitchen, yes.
You weren't paying special attention to Brian Albert or Brian Higgins, what they were doing. As a matter of fact, I think they went into a different room. Is that right?
There's a room, kind of the kitchen opens up into the TV room. So they were in there.
So the only two that you recognized at this point in the night, not being sort of with everybody else, were Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, separated out in the family room or whatever that room's called, living room?
Yeah, I feel like just right there, right where they are. Just kind of right in the next room.
When you first pulled up, did you notice any vehicles in front of Brian Albert's house?
Yes, I did.
What vehicles did you notice? Vehicle or vehicles did you
Just
notice?
one.
What was that vehicle?
Higgins.
It was a Jeep.
Can you describe the Jeep for us, please?
I really can't. All I can say is that when I pulled down, the Jeep was on the parked on the street in front of the mailbox, and I turned into the driveway.
Okay. Did the Jeep have any special features on it that you remember, that you
No.
describe?
Not that I can recall.
big giant snowplow in front?
Again, it was dark. I didn't really pay much detail to it beyond I just asked whose Jeep is that.
And did you learn whose Jeep that was?
I did, yes.
Whose Jeep was it?
It was Brian Higgins' Jeep.
And you said that it was parked in front of the mailbox, is that right?
Yes.
So as you're looking at the house, the mailbox would be closest to the driveway, is that right?
Yes.
Rather than, for instance, the flagpole on the other side of the lawn.
Correct. So if the flagpole's here, there's the lawn, and then here's the drive. I mean, here's the mailbox, and then the driveway's over.
Do we have a picture of Higgins' Jeep and his snowplow? There was another theory of like, what if John was outside in the snow, injured, still alive, but it was Higgins that plowed John and caused like scratches on his arm or some shit like that. I know that's like an off-side theory, but do we have a picture of Higgins' Jeep and his little snowplow thing?
Over here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does to me. Thank you for that. You've previously indicated that the back edge of that vehicle, Brian Higgins' Jeep, was at the side, basically, of the driveway, which is what you just described. It would be blocking the mailbox, the rear end associated with the driveway entrance, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever discussed having seen that Jeep in that spot with anybody else in this case?
Is that including previous testimony, or?
It is. At any time. Before you testified at the previous hearing, had you discussed having seen that Jeep in that spot with anybody else? For instance, your husband? Was there any other car on that curb line, if you will, other than the Jeep when you pulled in?
Not that I remember.
And Brian Higgins, if it's his Jeep, he's in the house. That Jeep's not moving, correct? So it stayed where it was.
Yes.
At some point, did you observe Miss Reed's vehicle pull up to the driveway? I'm sorry, pull up to the house.
I was told there was a vehicle outside, so I went and looked.
Where
Yes.
was that vehicle? When you looked that first time, where was Miss Reed's SUV?
When I went to the front door and looked out, it was straight ahead.
So that would be parallel, actually in line with the Jeep, correct?
Yes.
Directly in front of the Jeep.
I don't know the distance, but yes, you're correct. It was in front of the Jeep.
So if the Jeep was a normal, it's a full-size Jeep, correct?
I don't know what size it is.
Certainly the SUV.
All right, I'm gonna get up, stretch, use the bathroom really quick. Guys, get up and stretch. Woo. All right, we are back. Hello, Shiro. Oh yeah, stretch break. Oh man, I worked out my arms yesterday. And my what's it called? My shoulders. I'm so sore. Oh, the pain. How's everyone? How are you guys doing today? Her chair doesn't look as comfortable as she deserves. Damn it, F the chair. I actually have what's it called? This like seat cushion that I paid. Shit was like fucking $200. Man, shit was expensive. But it's a seat cushion thing made by Purple Mattress. Dude, this is the best thing ever. If you have a bony ass like I do, and your ass bone just goes straight to the chair, I recommend getting this. And especially for airplane rides or like long car rides. Although I always forget to bring it with me when I'm traveling. But dude, this is so nice. It just feels like you're just like floating on jelly. I don't know how to describe it.
is a full-size SUV.
Yes.
All right. So that would take up much of the room of the curb area in front of 34 Fairview, between the Jeep, assuming there's a snowplow,
Right.
and a full-size SUV, correct?
I'm not really sure of the whole area, but there was the Jeep and then there was the car. I just don't know the distance between them.
You gave a description of the vehicles that were out in front of 34 Fairview in your January 29, 2022 interview with Trooper Proctor, correct?
He came to my house and asked me questions, correct?
When you gave that interview to Trooper Proctor, you indicated to him that you first observed Miss Reed's vehicle parked on the street by the driveway, correct?
I never said by the driveway, no.
So if that's in a report, Trooper Proctor got that fact wrong, got that detail wrong.
Sustained.
If, in fact, well, let me ask it this way. What did you say to Trooper Proctor about where that vehicle was?
Miss Reed's vehicle?
Correct.
I told him it was straight out front, the window. The straight out front of the front door. Sorry.
Trooper Proctor wrote a report about his interview with you, correct?
Correct?
You've seen that report in other hearings, is that right?
Yes.
Your interview with him was on January 29th. Do you remember the date? I'm sorry, I just said the date. Do you remember the time? My mistake.
I don't remember the exact time. I'm assuming afternoon, like after 12, or I'm not 100%. Sorry.
You had been contacted by Trooper Proctor while you were still at 34 Fairview, is that right?
Yes.
Ultimately, instead of coming from the Canton Police Department to 34 Fairview, you went home to your house, to
yes.
the Country Lane address.
Yes, I did.
And Trooper Proctor ended up meeting you there, correct?
Yes.
And in addition to you and Matt being there, Brian Albert showed up, correct?
I asked him to come.
So you asked your brother-in-law to come to the interview that you were having with Trooper Proctor formally in furtherance of his investigation surrounding the circumstances of this case. Correct?
No.
But Brian Albert did show up at your house.
He did. I asked him to come, yes.
And he was inside the house when Trooper Proctor ultimately interviewed you, correct?
He was in the house, yes.
And you'd spoken to Brian Albert before Trooper Proctor had interviewed you formally, correct?
I believe so, yes.
As a matter of fact, several times you had to have spoken to him at 34 Fairview. You've already said that, right?
Oh, right, yeah, we were all there in the
And
kitchen.
then obviously you spoke to him about the interview before Trooper Proctor got to your house to interview you on the 29th as well, correct?
We were just talking about what happened. It wasn't specifically about Trooper Proctor.
Right, not about Trooper Proctor. You talked to Brian Albert about the circumstances of this case before you spoke with Trooper Proctor.
Yes, I had.
Do you remember exactly what you said to Trooper Proctor about the location of the SUV in front of the house?
I know what I said, yes.
Okay, what exactly did you say?
I said the car was straight out front of the front door. When I was looking out the front door, it was straight ahead.
Isn't it true that what you actually said, Ms. McCabe, is that you first observed the vehicle parked on the street by the driveway facing in the direction toward Chapman? Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that what you said?
Those are not my words, no.
Okay, next question.
Hey, what's up? How are you doing today? Hi, lady. How's
You've
it
already
going?
indicated that following the events of January 28th and 29th, you have spoken extensively with your family and your friends, members of your family and your friend group, about what happened that night, correct?
Yes.
And that includes Brian and Nicole Albert, is that right?
Yes.
That includes Matt McCabe, your husband, correct?
Yes.
That includes Chris and Julie Albert?
Yes.
Includes other people that were there that night, including Brian Higgins?
I haven't spoken to Brian Higgins since, I believe, John O'Keefe's wake.
But you did speak to him that morning at 34 Fairview, is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, he was there, yes.
As a matter of fact, he's the one that told
Good luck, Shaniqua. Good luck on your surgery. We'll see you later.
you to call Officer Lenk back and have Officer Lenk come back for the additional statement that you wanted to give Officer Lenk. Is that right?
He may have suggested it, I'm not sure.
So in those discussions that you've had with all these folks, you've talked to the details about that night being at the bar, the house, who was where, all of those things, correct?
Yes.
You've talked about the timing of the night, who arrived, when people arrived at 34 Fairview, when people arrived at Waterfall Bar and Grill, correct?
No, those really aren't details we discuss. I mean, everybody kind of knows when they came and when they left. We talk more about, living with everything that we've gone through.
Well, what about on the morning of January 29th, when everybody was still in that sort of friends and family gathering inside 34 Fairview?
When I was there with my husband and sister and brother-in-law, and, then Brian's friend and Julie Albert, I was trying to piece together what had happened. They were all being supportive. They had no idea what happened. We were just kind of sitting there in utter shock, waiting to hear from Terry about John. It was nothing more than just us being together and trying to figure out what had happened. I had gotten a phone call from Karen to help her.
And
here's
during that conversation, or that series of conversations, you were sharing what your observations of that evening were, what your story was, how the evening started, how it ended for you, correct? Or the morning ended for you, correct?
No, I'm not correct.
During the time that you folks were inside the house discussing this, there was no law enforcement agent or officer inside that house, correct?
Correct.
So the entire family and the friend network that we're talking about, with whom you discussed all these events, everybody was entitled to and did coordinate their statements without any separation and without any law enforcement oversight, correct?
I was with my family. My sister, my brother-in-law. It wasn't really a big group of us.
How pissed is everyone at law enforcement?
As I've mentioned, I had 5 or 6 people. I was in shock. I didn't know what had happened. They were just asking me what happened.
And
Questions like that, and I absolutely told them. But it was no story. There was no us being allowed to do it. That was my family. They were just there with me.
But nobody was separated by law enforcement, correct?
I don't believe there was a reason to separate us.
Nobody. Well, notwithstanding what you think was the reason, you're not a professional
I'm doing good, just sore. Yesterday was arm day.
investigator, correct?
I'm not, no.
You're not a trained investigator.
No.
You're certainly not a homicide detective, correct?
No.
None of you witnesses were ever separated, were you, that morning?
There was no reason to separate us.
I'm not asking you if there was a reason, okay? I'm asking you whether or not factually anybody was separated in the house. Or was everybody allowed to talk amongst themselves?
I was with my family. We didn't need to be allowed.
Okay. Let me try this again. Was anybody in that house separated? Were the witnesses separated from each other? The family, who are witnesses, were they separated from each other? By law enforcement?
At that point, I don't think anyone but myself and Matt were maybe even witnesses.
Okay. I'm not asking you what your determination of who the witnesses are. I'm asking you whether the folks in that house were separated by law enforcement before you were able to have discussions about the events of January 28th and 29th. That's a yes or no question. Were you separated or not?
At one point, when Mike Lank was in the house, he had separated and talked to Nicole, then Brian, then Matt.
And then you promptly left and left everybody in the house together, correct?
He left us, yeah.
Right. Nobody was taken down to the station, is that right?
No.
As a matter of fact, Trooper Proctor didn't even come over to 34 Fairview, the scene of the incident, to interview you, correct?
I asked him to meet at my house because I had to go home to my children.
And he accommodated you, didn't he?
He did, yes.
And he accommodated the fact that Brian Albert escorted you to the house for your interview, correct?
Brian didn't escort me, no.
Well, he went to your house at the same time that Trooper Proctor was there to interview you, correct?
He came at some point, yes, by himself.
Before Trooper Proctor did the interview.
I'm not sure if he was there, if he got there before or when
Well,
he arrived.
you've testified in the past that
Yes.
Brian Albert came to your house alone. I don't mean he came in the same car.
Yes.
But he followed you over to your house before Trooper Proctor ever got there. And he was in the house while Trooper Proctor conducted his interview, correct?
Yes, Brian was in the house for the interview.
Thank you. You've already indicated that you have been discussing this case with certain other witnesses, not for days or weeks or months, but literally for years, most specifically Carrie Roberts, correct?
The case in general, yes.
Just before Carrie Roberts testified at a grand jury proceeding in this case, you were with her, weren't you?
I don't recall what you're talking about.
Do you remember being at the grand jury?
Yes.
Do you remember testifying at the grand jury?
Yes, the one back in April. Yes, yes.
2022?
Yes. Yeah, it sounds about right, yeah.
You remember being there in an anteroom with some other folks?
What's an anteroom?
An anteroom, a waiting room?
Oh, yeah.
waiting for testimony?
Yes.
You remember Carrie Roberts being with you in that exact same anteroom?
Yes.
And that was right before her testimony, correct?
I believe so, yes.
So, in answer to my question, you two were together literally just before she testified at the grand jury, which was the first formal under oath testimony that she ever gave. Is that right?
Yes.
Was that before, or when she testified at the grand jury, was that before or after you two had gotten together and created this timeline?
We did the timeline right after John had passed.
So she testified, the answer is she testified after the timeline was created, correct?
Yes.
Brian Albert and his family had a dog on January 29th, 2022, did they not?
Yes, they did.
What was that dog's name?
Chloe,
What kind of dog was Chloe?
German Shepherd.
Do you know if it was a purebred German Shepherd or a mix of Malinois and German Shepherd, or do you know?
I have no idea.
Big dog.
Yeah, good sized dog, yeah.
70
Yes, this is my Sully coat. I have Sully. I have the dinosaur foot. I love giant mugs.
pounder.
I don't know its weight.
Wasn't a little munchkin dog. It was a
No,
full-size German
it's a
Shepherd.
full size, yeah.
On the morning that you described going into the house, January 29th, 6:40 a.m. or so, you indicated that you burst into the bedroom to wake your sister and Brian Albert. Is that right?
Yes, I went into the bedroom.
It's still dark out, correct?
Yes.
There had been relative chaos on the lawn for a number of minutes, from about 6:10 until at least 6:40. When you went in, there were still emergency vehicles with lights on and engines running, and chaos, relative chaos, bedlam, as somebody had said, on that front lawn, correct?
It was more on their side lawn and down the street, kind of like all the cruises. A lot of them were behind their lot.
Right in front of 34 Fairview, correct?
To the side, in the side yard of 34 Fairview, yes.
And on the lawn of 34 Fairview,
Yes,
where first responders were responding, correct?
yes,
And you said my client was screaming to the top of her lungs, is that right?
yes, she was.
And Carrie Roberts was screaming back at her?
Yes.
Shut up, or shut the fuck up, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Then 6:40 a.m., under the cover of darkness, you walked in the front door of the unlocked front door of Brian Albert's house, correct?
I went into my sister's house, correct?
It wasn't Brian Albert's house?
And Brian Albert, yes, I'm sorry.
You then climbed the stairs up toward the bedrooms, correct?
Yes,
You walked into the bedroom door where Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, according to you, were sleeping. Is that right?
Yes.
So you would agree that you unexpectedly, in terms of their view, unexpectedly walked into their house basically in the middle of the night, middle of the morning.
Yes.
You indicated that when you went through their bedroom door, you sort of burst through, correct?
I opened the door. I don't know if I used the word burst.
You previously indicated that when you went through
She busted in.
the door, it was chaotic because you were so amped up from the events. Is that right?
I don't know if I used those words.
Would you say that you were loud or quiet?
I think as I explained earlier, I was like where everything was going on around me, and I was kind of like in just a state of shock. And I remember thinking, I don't want.
Who is this woman? This is Jen McCabe. She was friends with John O'Keefe, the victim. She helped with the kid stuff. Their kids bonded. And she's also someone who's accused by the defense of being a part of a conspiracy cover-up to frame Karen Reed. So
I want to startle them, but I have to wake them up because obviously when I wake them up, they're going to be panicked and think something terrible happened.
Well, why didn't you want to startle them? Something terrible had happened.
I didn't want to give them a heart attack when I woke them up.
But you didn't walk up and just nudge them and say, hey, Nicole, honey, can you wake up? Something to talk about. You didn't do that.
No, I was like, Brian, Nicole, wake up, wake up.
Okay, exactly. But you weren't saying it in that voice either. You were saying, Brian, Nicole, get up.
I'm not sure if it was that loud, but I definitely was. You definitely like trying to wake them up. Yes.
What was the dog's reaction?
I don't recall seeing the dog.
So, according to you, to the dog at least, if we can get in the mind of a dog, a relative stranger walks in the front door, climbs a set of stairs, the house is completely dark, walks into a bedroom door and starts barking. The person starts barking, get up, wake up, Brian, Nicole. And you don't remember seeing
but she's not a stranger, though. That's her sister's house, no?
or hearing a dog at all.
Objection.
Sustained.
As you indicated, it's not that the dog wasn't reactive, it's that you don't remember the dog even being there, correct?
I have no memory of the dog, no.
But you do know that that dog in Brian and Nicole's room, correct?
It may, I don't know for sure.
The reason you don't remember the dog being there is because the dog wasn't there, was it?
Where did they say the dog was? Was the dog sleeping in the closet or something? Where was the dog?
I don't remember the dog.
Right. So when you walked out of the room, when you walked in the house, didn't see the dog?
No.
When you walked up the stairs, no dog?
No.
Walked down the hallway, no dog?
No.
Walked into Brian and Nicole's bedroom door, no dog?
I don't remember seeing the dog.
I realize that. Mm-hmm. Dog or no dog? No dog.
I don't remember seeing the dog. It doesn't mean it wasn't there or it was there. I just don't remember seeing it.
Well, you didn't. No dog came up to you and barked at you, correct?
No.
You didn't see or hear a dog whining or howling, did you?
No.
You didn't hear or see a dog scratching at the door?
No.
There's no sign of a dog at all in Brian and Nicole Albert's house at 6:41 a.m. when you walked into that house, correct? Or 6:40?
I don't remember seeing the dog.
And this was a 70-pound German Shepherd, correct?
I don't know the weight of the
Have
dog.
you ever heard a description given about that dog by Brian Albert or anybody else? That dog was not good with strangers.
Objection.
Did you know, as you said, you're very, very dear friends, and obviously dear friends with Brian Albert, relations with Nicole Albert, your sister. Are you aware that that dog was not good with strangers?
I think the defense's theory was Caitlin left when she left, and then maybe Caitlin left and took the dog with her.
Object.
Do you know that?
I don't. It wasn't good with other dogs is what I knew, so I could never bring my dog over there. That's all I know about the dog.
Right. Had some aggression, correct? At least with other dogs.
Possibly.
Possibly with other dogs.
Yeah.
That's our next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you could remind the jurors, in your memory, who was the last person to leave the house, 34 Fairview, on the early morning hours of January 29th?
I believe Caitlin left after us, my niece.
Thank you. At some point, we've already talked a little bit about this. You said you looked out the front door glass. Was it a window or was the whole door glass?
The whole door was glass, I believe.
Is it like and pardon my ignorance, is there like a wooden door that is open and there's a storm door that's all glass that was closed? Is that what we're dealing with?
I believe so, yes. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. Can we take one more glance? I'm going to back up for a quick second. Can we take one more glance at that exhibit 3, the course formation?
Okay.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
I forgot to ask you, and I apologize. Okay. Cole Albert. May I approach?
Yes.
Yes.
That was the first time you noted or clocked that SUV being there?
First time.
The first time you noted the SUV, in other words, that you visually saw it, it was directly in front of you. It was not back by the mailbox, correct?
Correct.
Did you still see the Jeep parked back by the mailbox?
I looked out the window. I saw the car. I really didn't pay attention to details of other cars. I just looked and saw her car.
When you first looked out that window and saw, or looked out the door and saw the SUV, what time was that?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Does the time 2:23 a.m. sound familiar?
2:23?
I'm sorry, 12:23. My mistake.
I'm not sure.
When you looked out the door, did you see any other vehicles at that time, other than the Jeep, other than Miss Reed's SUV?
I believe I saw lights. Lights like over here somewhere. If the Jeep's there and the car, is there.
Okay, can you describe for the record what you did? The theirs don't come across on the record.
Oh,
so
sorry.
to your left,
yes.
is
Straight out would be Miss Reed's vehicle that I looked at.
Okay.
I kind of looked at that. I remember my peripheral vision seeing lights over there, to the left. Sorry.
all right. So the way that you're describing this, and that's lights to a vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Matter of fact, you know what vehicle that is.
I do. Yes.
What vehicle is it? Describe it for the jurors, please.
It's Ryan Nagel's.
Ryan Nagel's what? Car, truck?
I believe he has a truck.
Okay. So what you're describing is you looked out the window, you saw Miss Reed's SUV directly in front of you. Right behind that, in line, was Brian Higgins' Jeep, and behind that was Ryan Nagel's truck. Is that right?
I'm not sure where his truck lines up. I just remember seeing lights. I just quickly saw Miss Reed's car, and went back into the room. I wasn't, I apologize, paying attention for specific details about cars.
At some point, you did become interested in exactly what time Ryan Nagel's truck arrived, correct? This is after the fact, well after the fact, months after the fact.
Yes, I did.
As a matter of fact, you took it upon yourself to ask Julie Nagel, Ryan's sister, to send you something, correct?
Yes, I did.
What did you ask her to send you?
I ran into the two of them.
I didn't ask you who you ran into, just what did you ask her to send you?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. A text message.
A screenshot of a text message.
Yes, a screenshot of a text message between Julie and Ryan Nagel.
You knew at the time that Miss Nagel, very obviously, was a percipient witness in this case, correct?
I believe so. It was very early on.
Well, I mean, she was in the house. Mr.
Yes.
Nagel. She was in the house when Miss Reed's vehicle appeared, correct?
Correct.
She was in the house when you were looking at the vehicle.
Correct.
She was in the house when everybody came home from the 34 Fairview from the Waterfall Bar and Grill, correct?
Correct.
She was interacting with those inside the house at the very time we're talking about, right?
Yes.
She went outside at some point to talk to her brother outside the house, right behind the SUV that you're describing as Miss Reed's SUV, correct?
Yes.
So you knew that she was, and you knew all this when you asked her for that screenshot.
I was trying to piece together.
You knew all this when you asked for the screenshot. You
Yes.
knew what her position was in this case, correct?
She had no involvement. What happened
I
outside
didn't
is
ask you if she had
different.
involvement.
Let her finish her answer.
Go ahead.
Ms. McCabe, finish that answer.
I didn't. What happened outside was separate from anything that happened inside.
I'm going to ask you again. You knew all of that information, and that Julie Nagel was a percipient witness in this case, as was everyone else inside 34 Fairview, when you asked for that screenshot, correct?
Yes.
That is another example of you coordinating information with other witnesses in this case, correct?
No, that is not correct.
Were you ever advised by Michael Proctor not to coordinate information with other witnesses in the case? Did he ever say, don't do that?
I don't recall.
Hey, Angie, how are you doing today? Yeah, we started early today.
So you don't recall, or he didn't?
I don't recall if he did or not.
Okay. If he did tell you not to coordinate with other witnesses, this would be a breach of that agreement, wouldn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Indeed, once you got that screenshot, we'll talk about that in just a second, when you got the screenshot, did you ever share that with law enforcement?
I'm not sure if I did or not.
You never provided that to Michael Proctor or any other investigator, did you?
I'm not sure if I did or not.
As a matter of fact, Ms. McCabe, the only reason we know about that screenshot is because of the extraction on your phone. Isn't that right?
If that's how you know about it, I'm not sure.
You asked for that screenshot for your own personal use, for your own personal information, for your own personal coordination, correct, of what happened that night.
That's what are you asking? There's 3 questions there.
Did you ask for that screenshot for your own personal use?
Yes.
And indeed, you do know what time it was that you looked out and saw Ryan Nagel's truck, because the screenshot told you that, correct?
The screenshot told me when Ryan Nagel pulled up. It didn't tell when I saw.
And what was the time when Ryan Nagel indicated that he pulled up?
I'd have to look at the screenshot.
2:23 a.m.? 12:23 a.m. sound right?
If you have it and that's what it says, absolutely.
Sure. Take a look at that.
Come to counsel. Wyatt.
Is this a long lunch break?
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Take a look at the highlighted portion and tell me if that refreshes your
I don't know,
recollection about
man. When the
anything.
Cellbrite guy testified before, it was before her testimony, right? I thought his testimony was really compelling about the search history and when the searches happened. But my ears are open for the defense's expert witness.
Is the page available
I'm
before
sorry,
this?
just a yes or no, does that refresh your recollection about anything that we've been discussing?
It's just what we've discussed. It doesn't really refresh.
So it does not refresh her memory. Next question.
I don't think that's what she said.
That's what you
Yes, that's what I said.
That was her answer.
That does not refresh your recollection?
Objection.
That was her answer. Next question, Mr. Jackson.
Is the AC on again? Sometimes it's so loud in the courtroom, they have to turn off the fucking AC. Oh my God. Apparently this was like really bad during the June and July season. Oh gosh. Or June, July month.
We were just discussing.
Regarding me asking Julie Nagel for the time?
Correct.
Yes, it does.
Okay. And what time did that was attendant to a screenshot that you asked for, correct?
Yes.
And that time was what?
Objection.
Do you remember the time?
Can I look at the paper? I was reading everything. I
So
looked at
the
exact
question is
time.
whether you remember the
Oh, do I remember it? I don't remember the
next question.
So this does not refresh your recollection. This is the time that was reflected on that screenshot.
I can read the time, but in my memory.
Oh, my question. I have to do it this way.
Okay, sorry.
Does it refresh your recollection as you sit here, having read this, as to the time that was reflected on that screenshot?
I don't, sitting here today, the only reason I know there's a time is because of what's on that paper.
But you did ask for a screenshot from Ms. Nagel, correct?
Yes, I
And
did.
And that screenshot said something to the effect of outside. Is that right?
What's wrong?
Just that question. The screenshot said something about outside.
Is that right?
I believe it said here, yes.
Or maybe it's
Yes, something
And
similar.
it was a screenshot from Ryan Nagel to Julie Nagel indicating that he had arrived.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure, it was a screenshot of a text message from Ryan Nagel to Julie Nagel saying, I've arrived. In other
Yes.
words, I've arrived at 34 Fairview.
Yes, it was.
Because he was intending to give her a ride home, which she had asked for. Is that right?
Objection.
Sustained.
You did see Julie Nagel go outside and approach the vehicle, correct?
I never saw her go near the vehicle. I saw her go outside.
Got it. Did she ultimately come back indoors?
Yes.
Did she come back in with anybody else?
No.
About what time would you estimate that to have been in the course of that evening?
When she came back inside,
When she walked out and then came back inside?
soon after she went out, she talked to her brother, she came back inside.
And about what time
Hey Nitrous, how's it going? How are you doing today? Hello, hello. Oh, Chinese. You ordered Chinese food?
of the day was that? If you know.
I mean, this was all happening while we were at my sister's house.
Right. Was it 12:15, 12:30, 12:45, 1 o'clock?
Well, according to that paper, it would have had to
That's not
been.
what I'm asking.
Not according to
Do you have an independent recollection of about, if not down to the minute, about what time that was?
I could say I'd have to be. I wasn't looking at my watch that night, so it's very hard for me to give a time just off of my memory. I know what I've seen, but
Okay.
it's hard.
You did see both Ryan Nagel's truck and Miss Reed's SUV in front of the house at the same time, correct?
I saw his lights in my peripheral vision on the left.
But the lights are attached to what?
The car, but it wasn't out front. Miss Reed's vehicle was out front.
Right. When I say in front of 34 Fairview, we're going to talk about the spacing in just a second. I just meant out in front of the house.
Yes, over to the side, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're indicating that, and I want to be clear about this, as you're looking out that storm door window, going from right to left, it was Miss Reed's vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Then Higgins's Jeep. Is that right?
His Jeep was in front of the mailbox.
Then behind that, was there a space? And then Mr. Nagel's truck, or was the truck right behind the Jeep?
That's what I can't tell you. I just remember seeing lights. I didn't look over and pay much attention to it. I was just quickly looking at the Miss Reed's car, and then I went back and sat down.
Do you recall testifying at a prior hearing that it was, your perception was Miss Reed's car, her SUV, the Jeep, a space, and then Mr. Nagel's truck from right to left?
I remember Mr. Nagel's truck over to the left in my peripheral vision. I can't give you an exact location.
But there's no question in your mind as you sit here that Brian Higgins' Jeep was between Brian Nagel's truck and Miss Reed's SUV. You remember that very clearly, correct?
I know that this Miss Reed's vehicle was here, and there were lights in my peripheral vision over here. I wasn't, I just was looking quickly.
So let me ask the question again.
Okay.
Assuming the lights are attached to something, Brian Nagel's truck, we've already established that. What you're looking at, when you look out the storm door window, is Miss Reed's truck, or SUV rather. So just behind that and to the left, as you're looking at it, Mr. Higgins' Jeep, correct? And behind that, Mr. Nagel's truck. You remember the Jeep being between the truck and the SUV? Correct?
I remember looking out the window. It was dark. I remember seeing lights over to the left. That is what I remember.
Where was the Jeep as it relates to the lights?
I'm assuming the Jeep was still parked at the mailbox.
You saw it. I mean, it's a 5,000-pound Jeep, right?
It was dark. I wasn't studying outside. It was a quick thing I did. I looked, I saw it, I went back to the table.
Okay, and I'm asking for what saw it was. Let's just slow down and saw it.
Okay.
You looked and you saw Brian Nagel's truck. Then you saw Higgins' Jeep. Then you saw Miss Reed's SUV, correct?
I saw Miss Reed's SUV parked straight out front, and in my peripheral vision, I saw lights that, yes, must have been attached to a truck, but I didn't study the lineup of cars. I'm sorry.
All right, so
Can I have one more question?
one more question.
Where was the Jeep? Was it in front of the SUV, behind Mr. Nagel's truck, or was it between the two of them? It's a simple question.
You're asking what I saw when I looked outside. I didn't. And I'm telling you exactly what I saw. It was dark. It was.
Chinese food sounds so good. I was watching a movie or TV show yesterday, and there's one Chinese food. Yum.
Karen's car there, and in my peripheral vision, I saw lights, and then I went back to the table.
Okay, that's the last question. We're going to break for lunch.
Very well.
Man, how long was court even doing its court thing today? Let's see. We're back on the stand. Right around here?
You pull up very shortly
Thank you. Dude, the allergies are wild. My nose has been so crazy.
thereafter. You sent a text to John O'Keefe, correct?
I walked to the door, saw the car, and that's when I sent him a text, yes.
Right. So you walked up to the door, saw the SUV outside, and then texted him something at that, basically while you're standing at the door.
I believe so, yes.
What did you text him?
Here?
Okay. That was, do you remember the time?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection if you were to look at a series of text messages contained in a
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Hello. Hi.
cell break report? I think you've seen this before.
Sure.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. A series of text messages. It's not a memory of those four.
Are these in evidence?
This is not in evidence, to my knowledge. Not yet.
Would it help you to remember?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you bring it to Ms.
Not that whole document. It's the
Okay.
intent of text.
It's about 5, am I?
I'll help.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McCabe, did you see a text on here that was consistent with your memory that you texted here?
Yes.
And was that at 12:27 a.m.?
I don't know exactly. I'm assuming if it's on that paper.
If I may have just one, Your Honor.
What are y'all thinking about the cross-examination so far? Honestly, I thought it was going to be a lot more fiery, but maybe we're getting there.
May I? Yes. Your Honor, I would offer the following stipulation at 12:14:27 on January 29th, 2022. Text message from Jen McCabe to, text message from John O'Keefe's phone to Jen McCabe's phone. Where to? At 12:20, all these are on January 29th, 2022. At 12:27:33 from Jennifer McCabe's phone to John O'Keefe's phone. Here, exclamation point, question mark. Same date, 12:31 and 47 seconds from Jen McCabe's phone to John O'Keefe's phone. Pull behind me. Same date, 12:40 and 31 seconds from Jen McCabe's phone to John O'Keefe's phone. Hello.
Hello.
12:42 and 9 seconds.
He's doing well, but so is she. It's getting fiery. She seems nervous. It's been good. I don't think they want to be combative due to they can't do that. Can't put off the jury. Oh, doing that can put off the jury.
Text message from Jennifer McCabe's phone to John O'Keefe's phone. Where are the letter U?
Okay, thank you.
Finally, 12:45 and 53 seconds from Jen McCabe's phone to John O'Keefe's phone. Hello. I would offer the stipulation that those are correct times and dates and contents of the text messages between John O'Keefe's phone and Jen.
I told you yesterday.
27, it's now been stipulated to, you texted a single word, here, exclamation point, question mark, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You indicate that you saw the SUV move up after it was in front of the 34 Fairview residence. It moved up some number of feet, correct?
The next time I looked, it was at a different location.
Right. Now, you did not see the white Jeep move from the place that you originally saw it in front of the mailbox, correct?
I never looked out at the white Jeep.
But you never saw that move, ever?
No.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Higgins, that Jeep was in the same spot while Mr. Higgins was inside the residence until he left, correct?
That's what I would assume, yes.
Okay. And you never saw him go out and move his car and come back in or anything like that?
I never did, no.
After you, it's fair to say that once you noted that the SUV, Ms. Reed's SUV, was in front of the location, you started paying some attention to it.
I went to the door a few times to look out, yes.
As a matter of fact, in the course of about 19 minutes, you went to the door no fewer than 5 times, correct?
I'm not sure if it was 5.
You've indicated previously that for every time you went to the door and saw the SUV, you texted something, which are the texts contained in the document that was just stipulated to. Is that right?
I did text 5 times, you are correct.
Okay. So it's fair to say if you texted 5 times, then you went to the door 5 times, if those were associated with one another. You walked up, looked out the door, see the SUV, and text something. Here, pull behind me, where are you? Those texts, correct?
I remember going to the front door, seeing the car, and texting here. When I went to the door the second time, the car had moved up towards the flagpole, and I texted, pull behind me, because I thought, did they not know where to park? Did they think they were at the wrong house?
So my question is this. Every time you went to the door, you texted something.
I'm not sure that I did, yes.
Do you remember
I'm not sure that I did,
Do
sorry.
you remember a year ago testifying that every single time you texted, you indicated that you looked out at the SUV and saw something that prompted you to text something.
Am I aware that I said that?
Correct. That you testified to that.
Could you show that to me, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
My dog weighs 4 kilograms, goes crazy. Someone is near the house. I don't believe they sipped through all the emergency vehicles and just left the front door unlocked. Me neither. I don't think they had their emergency sirens, the audible ones. I don't think they had those on, but they definitely had the flashing lights on from what we saw. I don't know, because I feel like I want to know where the dog was. Like, where was the dog? You know, because I feel like maybe the dog would notice, maybe start barking, but if it didn't hear anything, because maybe the sound of the snow, the blizzard was dampening the sound. I mean, because like, you know, the dash cam footage that we were listening to, even though it was hard to hear, but there's still some audio, but the audio was only if like Karen was screaming. I don't know. Even in the dash cam audio wasn't really picking out noise from what was going on the other side of the vehicle. And that's like a lot closer than the people in the house in Fairview and the edge of the lawn on, you know, where all the shit was happening. I don't know, because the dash cam was like, you would think more audio would have been picked up, but there really wasn't much audio. I think it's because of the snow. But it'd be interesting to know where the dog was. And I wonder if she just knew how to get into her sister's house. Did she say the door was unlocked? I don't remember if she said that. I don't know. There are some people that just don't lock their doors, which I think is like fucking wild. But I think it's like a common small town thing. I have like some friends that I grew up with where their families never locked the front door. And I'm like, bro, that's fucking crazy, man. I'm too, I don't know, too paranoid for that shit. But maybe the front door was locked and she knew how to get in. Maybe there was an extra key, spare key, or maybe the front door was unlocked and I wasn't paying attention.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Take a look at the highlighted
Sure.
portion and just read that to yourself. Let me know when you're finished. The issue we were just talking about?
I see what's written down, yes.
Okay. Did you testify in answer to the following question? And as a matter of fact, you looked every single time that you texted, you indicated that you looked out at the SUV and saw something that prompted you to text something, correct? Answer, correct.
I answered correct to that,
Okay.
yes.
So if you looked out, if you texted 5 times, that's all I'm getting to, you went to the door about 5 times.
I'm not sure. I remember definitely going twice. And again, if I misstated or I said I went 5 times, 4 times, I apologize.
Well, do you think this...
That's crazy. I watch too many crime shows and not lock my door. Dude, I'm just too paranoid. But yeah, there are some other cases that we watch where we'll have people testify in the stand and they'll talk about like not having their front doors locked. And I'm just like, dude, that's fucking wild. I forgot what other cases we were watching when that happened. But I remember hearing that and we were talking about it. And then some of you guys in chat was like, yeah, like, you know, when we were growing up, we didn't lock our doors either.
testimony is in error?
No, I don't. I'm thinking with my memory, it was 3 years ago, and I'm thinking that maybe I wasn't clear on that detail of how many times that I went to the door.
And
What I
certainly-
can tell you I'm clear on is that I did go twice, and I saw it. I saw it straight ahead. I saw it at the flagpole, and a third time further up. I cannot say with certainty, with my memory today, that I was up at that door every single time. I'm sorry.
And then, and by the way, when you testified, as you just saw, that was a year ago, correct?
Yes.
A year earlier and a year closer to the event, correct?
Yes, it
So
was.
Your memory would have been a little bit fresher then than it is now, a year later.
I don't think I can compare my memory then to now.
You can't compare your memory? Do you think your memory gets better with time or fades a little with time?
Well, some things, unfortunately, I think about every single day with this case, the trauma of
Sure.
it and what I experienced and went through. And there are some things that I am certain I will never forget. And I know for sure where the car was, and I know for sure I sent those 2 texts. But I apologize if I misstated. I went up more than I did. I'm just trying to give you what I remember today.
Let's talk about those texts and, and you looking out the door. You did approach the door and you saw that the vehicle was there the initial time, correct? That's one.
When I texted here, yes.
And you texted here, exclamation point, question mark. Is that right?
Correct.
And you indicated that when you first saw the vehicle, it was straight out ahead of you in front of the front door, and it was stationary. Is that right?
Yes.
Then you said you went back to the door and you saw that it had moved up, quote, a little bit. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Toward the flagpole. Is that right?
Was that the flagpole? Yes.
And when you saw that it had moved up toward the flagpole, then you texted again.
Hey, Lauren, how are you doing today? No, you're not the only one. There's quite a few people here that feel the same way as well. But hi, Lauren, how are you doing today? Hey, Corgi, hey, Chess. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only person in the world who's on the fence in this case. Hi, CMB. Hello, hello.
At 12:40, which has been stipulated to hello. Is that right?
When I saw it move up to the flagpole, I believe I texted pull behind me.
When you...
Damn, I don't believe her. I wanted the case convinced she was guilty. Did you also watch trial number 1 as well? I guess we should do a poll. Who watched trial number... Wait, did I already do a poll on that? Did we do a poll on who watched trial number 1 and who didn't? Honestly, I don't think it really helps you watch trial number 1 or not. I think it's better just to forget trial number 1 and well, actually, no. Trial number 1. No, actually, I think no. Trial number 1 does have some useful information because you saw how sloppy it was with law enforcement. I mean, I'm wondering how are they going to present law enforcement in trial number 2? Because man, once we got through the law enforcement in the very beginning, people were like, "What the fuck was going on with this fucking investigation?" You didn't watch trial number 1, dude. Trial number 1 was a shit show. Oh yes, don't forget to like the stream, guys. I always forget. Lol. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
When you went the second time, and by the way, it's my mistake. I got I jumped over one. It was 12:31:46.
A lot of people have that sentiment, Lauren. From what I do know, even if she did do it, the police force made far too many mistakes and messed up any real chance of clarity. Yeah, it's pretty fucked. Pretty fucked. That's why I'm telling you guys, like, even though the state's case seems really strong right now, I don't know, man. The moment law enforcement goes up to testify, oof, I don't know how they're gonna handle it.
7, which we stipulated to, pull behind me. That's
You've seen
when
clips?
the SUV was up closer to the flagpole, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Then you went yet again at 12:40 and saw the SUV yet again and texted hello. It was the second hello.
I'm not sure if that was when I texted hello.
But you did see that the SUV had moved again.
Yes.
Now where was it?
At first, it was straight ahead. Then it was at the flagpole, and then it was further up.
Then at 12:42, 2 minutes later, you texted, where are you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At that point, it was still up by the flagpole?
No, I'm not saying that it was still outside.
Where was it?
I'm not sure where the vehicle was.
At 12:45,
Where does the homicide charge come from? Oh, murder 2. Well, I think it's the state's theory that Karen Reed and John's relationship were off the rockers. Things weren't going well. It was escalating between the two of them. And after, getting into a fight and pretending like things were good at the bar, they were driving to 34 Fairview. And then when Jen said, "Oh, it's right by Bella's mom's house," maybe that triggered Karen Reed and John to get into an argument even more if they weren't already arguing. Because I'm assuming maybe the argument resumed since they were arguing that morning. And then remember how Karen was trying to get in touch with John, and then like he really wasn't going to talk to her. He talked to her for a little bit, and then like instead of like actually meeting up and like talking it out, they just like went out drinking together with a bunch of friends and shit like that. And so it's possible that the argument could have started in the car, where it's like, okay, well, I finally have John here. It's just me and him. We can finally talk about this. Or maybe things were fine, and maybe the argument got worse, or maybe the argument started when Bella's mom's name came up, because the state is trying to paint that Karen Reed was like a very jealous woman who, thought John was cheating on her. And so maybe Karen got pissed and dropped John off. Maybe she backed up into him and then left him there dying out in the snow. That's what the state's theory is. That's why they were trying to, or they still are trying to get her for murder 2. I think the issue with murder 2 is just that in the first trial, a lot of people were like, how the fuck did they go after her for murder 2? It just didn't seem like there's enough evidence for that. Now, I don't know if, because now we're seeing different things in trial number 2. We're seeing more mentioning of like other evidence. Like, for example, I think the battery temperature from the Cellbrite guy was like pretty fucking huge deal. That was not mentioned in trial number 1. So I don't know if maybe they have more evidence or they have some more experts that can really testify and talk about murder 2. But from trial number 1, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know how the fuck they think that Karen Reed can be, found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for murder 2. I think like from what I remember from the jury, what came up with the jury stuff, I think the jury were saying that like, oh, a lot of them agreed that it wasn't murder 2, but they were on the fence with manslaughter. I think it was like 8-4 vote or something like that. 8 thinking that she was guilty of manslaughter, 4 thinking that they didn't have enough evidence.
you texted yet again, hello. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
You indicated that was, you texted hello the last time you saw the vehicle. Is that right?
I'm not saying that today, no.
Well, did you say it previously?
In my testimony, did I say that the last time I texted, to have that written that I could see?
You just read it.
Well, that was your question that you had read to me. I never came out and said that.
Ms. McCabe, I asked you if you testified to that a year ago. That's my question. Did you testify to that a year ago that when you went, every single time you went to the door, you texted something because seeing the vehicle prompted you to text something to John?
That's a summary of maybe the...
Did you testify to that a year ago?
Yeah, because I think the major fork in the road is, A, do you believe that it was a conspiracy? If you're not convinced of the conspiracy, then the next fork in the road leads you to, okay, did Karen do it? Well, if some of you guys are thinking, well, okay, well, it's not really proven that she did it intentionally. Maybe it was an accident. The next fork in the road that you have to reconcile with is, what about the injuries? Is it possible that the injuries was caused by this cracked tail light or this vehicle? What about lack of bruising? Could have been something else. I don't know what the fuck happened. Or it's just one of those cases where it was just a bizarre fucking freak accident, and for some reason he came out with no bruises and just had scratches on him. I don't know. There's like a lot of like different forks in the road that you kind of have to like go through. But I think where it starts is whether or not you believe, or if you're convinced by the defense team that this was a conspiracy cover up. But yeah, for the jury, I think because the defense doesn't have the benefit of presenting this case first, when they're doing the cross-examination, the jury's getting like pieces of like what the defense's theory is. So right now, when we're doing the cross-examination of Jen McCabe, the jury, not knowing anything about this case, they're probably really fucking lost. They're probably thinking, why the fuck is this defense attorney going so hard about all these other witnesses and whether or not she had her story straight or whether or not she talked with another witness, and, if they try to get the timelines together. For the jury, that would be so fucking confusing. If the defense had a benefit of presenting their shit first and laying everything out, then they could be looking at Jen McCabe right now and be like, oh, actually, hold on a second. Was she coordinating everything? Was she involved in something? Is there something more ominous here? But I'm sure the defense will probably do a really good job when they're presenting their side, maybe. But I think right now for the jury, it's probably really confusing. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Why are we going so hard on, the victim's friend? Does anyone think that she'd been found guilty? Oh, dude, that is the question of the century. A lot of people are wondering that too. Did the state overcharge? And if they not overcharged, would they have potentially, had a better case against Karen Reed? I don't know. That's a good question. It's a weird weapon of choice. I see how she could have hit him by accident if she was drunk, question mark. Yeah, and I think a lot of people think maybe it was an accident because of all the ragey, she was calling him nonstop for a little bit, and then she left some ragey voice messages. I think were there like 2 voice messages she left where she was like kind of like screaming a little bit? I think one of them was like, John, you're a pervert. And then one was like, I forgot what was the other one. But is it possible that she left those angry voice messages not knowing what happened? Or was she trying to leave those voice messages in a way to show that like she's still, I don't know, like quick thinking on your foot to pretend like you still think that he's alive, or to pretend that you think that he's still alive when you know he wasn't. I don't know. To me, those voice messages, I think honestly, like it could tell the story of like she honestly didn't know if something happened to him, or he did go inside and he was ignoring her phone calls, so she got pissed. But I don't know. In trial number 1, I wasn't very convinced of the conspiracy. I thought there was a lot of really weird fucking shit happening and the investigation was horrible, but I wasn't just like thoroughly convinced by it. So trial number 2, I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happens, because I think the defense and both the state, they've learned from their mistakes and they can do better with presenting their side of the story. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens.
What, that when I went to the door? Yeah, different times when I went to the door, I did text, yes.
And then you testified as well that you went to the door a final
An overzealous prosecution. And it also doesn't help that the man that was in charge of prosecuting, Adam Lawley, I don't think he was really in it. I don't know if it's just his way of just presenting things, but it just felt like he just wasn't really passionate about prosecuting this case. It was like one of those things where he was just told what to do by his boss, and he's like, okay, I guess so. I mean, sure. I don't know. I just felt like there just wasn't any passion. And seeing that lack of passion just made it really unconvincing, I will say.
Time, and saw that the SUV was gone. It had left, correct?
Yes, at one point I did.
And that was just a couple of minutes after your last text at 12:45, is that right?
I'm not sure of the time.
As a matter of fact, you've testified previously that it was around 12:50 that you last went to the door and noted that the car was completely gone. Is that right?
I'm not sure of that.
You're not sure of that?
No, if you could show me, I'd appreciate it.
Also, Albers, Higgins, Proctors, guilty being shady, unprofessional, corrupt, perpetually drunk pieces of shit who are a disgrace to the police force. Oh, man. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you guys. Like, when we get to law enforcement, the cross-examining will get really fiery. Honestly, with Jen McCabe, the cross-examination is not as fiery as I thought it would be. But I think with law enforcement, bro, like just like pointing out all the inconsistencies, pointing out the just the incompetence, you know? Oof.
At some point, did you note that the vehicle was gone? Let's get to that.
Yes.
Around what time was that?
I do not know.
12:45, a little before, a little after?
I'm not sure. I can't give a time.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at how you testified to that particular time last year?
Sure.
May I?
Yes.
I mean, whatever the verdict is going to be, I mean, honestly, there'll be a new trial that happens. We'll have Donna Adelson, and then there'll be Brian Koberger. You know, people just forget so easily. The news just moves on so quickly. But yeah, that's just how it is.
Thank you. Highlighted portion.
Thank you.
Ms. McCabe? Does that refresh your recollection as to what time last year you indicated that you went to the door and saw that the SUV was gone?
It says on the paper that I was asked if after 12:45 it was gone, and I answered correct.
Okay.
I never gave a time.
All right. And that coincides with the last hello that you texted to John's phone, correct?
Again, I don't have that paper in front of me. Is that the
Well,
time?
that's the stipulation. That's what you don't need to worry about. That that's been stipulated to. Your last hello text was at 12:45.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So that coincides. That testimony from last year coincides with your last text message saying hello. You noted that the SUV at that point had gone, had left. Correct.
Correct.
So if I hear your testimony correctly, you saw the SUV in position 1.
Yes.
There was a text or something, or 2 maybe. Then you saw it in position 2. You went back to the door and noted that SUV had moved and it was now closer to the flagpole. Correct.
We've just asked 2 questions.
It had moved closer to the flagpole.
First question is, you said I saw it and I sent a text or 2. I know I just said 1 here.
Okay. Then you saw it a second time.
Correct.
And now it's closer to the flagpole.
Yes, correct.
And there's texting going on. I'm not getting down to the minute of the text, but there's texting going on. You're sending texts.
I'm sending, yes.
Okay. Then you went back to the door a third time and saw that it moved beyond the flagpole, correct?
Correct.
Then, according to your testimony last year, you went back to the door at least a 4th time to see that it was gone, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so at bare minimum, based on your testimony today, you were at the door, looking out the window at that portion of either the yard directly in front of you, and in front of the house, or toward the flagpole, or beyond the flagpole, 4 times, correct?
From last year's testimony, but what I remember today
No,
with
Ms. McCabe, that's not
certainty
my
is
question.
twice.
You need to let her answer the question. Answer your question, please.
Go ahead.
Okay. What I remember certainty is looking at it out front, at the flagpole, and beyond. I don't remember how many times I went up to the door. I was back and forth.
Right, but according to you, you saw the car in 3 different positions, correct?
Correct.
So that's at least 3 times to the door, correct?
Correct.
And you saw the car gone, right?
Correct.
3 plus 1 is 4, correct?
Correct.
So now you're telling us that you went to the door a minimum of 4 times and looked across that yard at the SUV, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You had a clear view of that SUV as you looked out that storm door every time you went to the door, didn't you?
It was dark and snowing, but I could see a vehicle out there, yes.
As a matter of fact, you've indicated that it was a clear view. There was nothing obstructing your vision, correct?
No, there was nothing but the weather conditions.
And you indicated that, and by the way, the blizzard had basically just started. There was a dusting on the ground.
It was snowing. It was accumulating.
Right,
Yeah.
but it was early in the storm.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right. And when asked about whether or not you had a view, well, let me ask it a different way. In terms of your view of the SUV and the distance from the storm door to the SUV to that curb line, there was nothing obstructing your view. You had a clear view of that, a good view of the SUV, correct?
When I looked out the window, I could see the SUV in front of me, yes.
At no time during any of this interaction with the door, meaning going back and forth to the storm door, texting, looking outside, seeing the SUV in position 1, seeing the SUV in position 2, seeing the SUV in position 3, at no time did you hear any noise that was unusual, did you?
No, I didn't.
You didn't hear any screaming?
No.
You didn't hear any yelling?
No.
No loud voices?
No.
No foul language?
No.
You didn't hear a door slam?
No.
You didn't hear a verbal argument or a fight of any kind?
No.
You didn't hear a revving engine?
No.
You didn't hear the squealing of tires or the scraping of tires on the pavement?
No.
You didn't hear a collision take place?
No.
Or a crash?
No.
Or screams for help?
No.
Moaning, groaning, as if someone was in distress?
No.
As you looked at the SUV the first time, you've already indicated that you had a clear view straight out the door, right? It's right in front of the...
And I guess the other thing is and this came up in my mind in trial number 1. I noticed in trial number 1, a lot of people that were there during the night of the drinking, they were saying that Karen Reed and John O'Keefe seemed like to be having a good time. There was no like tension in the air. They weren't arguing or anything. I mean, if they wanted to lie about, Karen being like a bitch or, being someone who had a murderous intent to kill John, wouldn't they just lie and say like, oh yeah, like, you know, they were arguing a little bit, or Karen looked like she was very tense, or Karen looked like she was angry? I mean, I guess the argument to that could be like, oh, well, the security footage would prove otherwise, and maybe they would know that. But then again, like, I guess you could also say that, like, if they really wanted to cover up and then create a lie about Karen Reed, they could also say that, well, I mean, I did hear arguing outside of the house, and there was tires revving, and I don't know, wouldn't you just like continue the lie as well? That kind of got me hung up on trial number 1. Man, I'd be so scared if I had to testify prior to testimony given. That's my worst nightmare. I know. I don't want to testify at all. Jessica, oh, she's gonna go walk the doggies. Okay, have fun.
The front door as a crow flies, right? It's not at an angle.
Right there. Correct.
Okay. You also previously indicated that you saw tire tracks in the roadway.
Yes.
In that very, very light dusting of snow, the accumulation that you talked about, you saw tire tracks of some sort.
Yes.
So that's down on the ground, beyond the yard, somewhere in the roadway.
In the street, correct.
You had a good view of those tire tracks as well, correct?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, you were able to describe those as sort of almost a wave, I think you once said?
Yeah, across the street. I could see it because of the street light that was across the street.
Okay, and that presented at least enough illumination based on your view. You could see the tire tracks in the snow.
Yes, over to the left, yes.
And you detailed not just the shape of those tire tracks as being sort of like a wave, but where those tire tracks were.
Yeah, we looked this up. Apparently, because we're like, well, aren't they like lit up? Apparently, there is a street light that's near the. If you're from her perspective, she's looking out the window. There is a street light, I think, by the mailbox. However, where John's body was found, there is no street lamp there. I think we looked this on Google Maps.
Correct?
No, like this, yeah.
Where did you see him?
I believe over to the left, if I'm looking out straight. Oh, sorry, straight.
So if you're looking outside at the SUV, I'm just going to turn my back to the jurors for a second for perspective. If you're looking outside the door, when you say straight out, the SUV is straight outside, when you say to the left, you mean to the left of the SUV on the ground, that's where you saw the tire track?
Yes.
Like somebody might parallel park or something.
Kind of a wave, yeah. I can't really explain what it was. I just saw it.
You weren't paying special attention. You weren't looking for tire tracks, were you?
No, when I glanced out, I saw it.
You weren't looking for anything in the roadway at that point. You just glanced out. There was something in your peripheral vision, and you made note of it.
Wait, sorry. She's saying that she saw tire tracks after the SUV left, or when it moved up?
Yes.
I need a stretch.
And the only thing between you and the SUV as you looked out was the lawn.
Correct.
There's no ditches or hills in that lawn. It's a flat lawn, correct?
I wasn't looking at the ground. I was just kind of looking like I am at you right
not my
now,
question.
straight.
You know that lawn. You've been in that house 100 times, 500 times. There's no ditches or berms or hills or mountains on that lawn. It's just a flat lawn, right?
I guess you could categorize it as flat, yeah.
The AC is working again. Glad to hear that. Is it hot outside?
Can we take a look? Okay. That's the same photograph with just a little modification on it that you saw a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask that you mark this. Mr. Walton, you make that. There you go. Thank you. What's depicted in that photograph?
34 Fairview?
Do you see the front
Oh no, man, that's a big ass lawn.
door that you went in?
I do, yes.
Can you point it out for the jurors, please?
Sure. Right there.
Okay. The one with the brick steps leading up to it.
Yes.
Now, with this perspective, can you point out the side door?
Sure.
That looks like a screen door just to the right of the hedges?
Yes.
With that perspective, can you point out the garage door?
Or that one. Sorry.
It's a nice looking house though.
That's just to the right of the window inside that recess of the home?
Yes.
Okay. And does that fairly and accurately depict the lawn as it was on January 28th, 29th, other than the fact that it's different weather?
Right.
The shape of the lawn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let me take that down, Mr. Wall.
So what was that marked as, Madam Court Reporter?
To take a minute on that, I'm happy. Correct?
I can see the SUV, correct.
Right. And you can see everything in front of the SUV as well.
I just would go to the door and look at the SUV. I wasn't taking in all the surroundings of...
Right. But just like you weren't taking in the surroundings, specifically looking for tire tracks, and you saw the SUV sitting right in front of you, you saw through your peripheral vision, you know the tire tracks.
Yes, and that's lighted where around the SUV was very dark.
I didn't ask you about lighting yet. We'll get to that.
I'm
You
sorry.
looked at tire tracks, even though you weren't looking for tire tracks, right?
Yes, I did.
Something stood out to you in your peripheral vision. Just looking out. There they are.
Yes, absolutely.
Obstruction between you and the SUV. You did not see John O'Keefe standing outside the SUV.
No,
He wasn't sitting down.
no,
He wasn't lying down.
no,
You certainly did not see his body in the snow toward that flagpole.
no.
And you would have been looking directly toward that flagpole, correct? Directly.
I was looking at the vehicle.
Directly toward the flagpole, Ms. McCabe.
I was looking in the direction of the flagpole
Right.
at the vehicle, yes.
Right. And you saw no body in the snow, did you?
I didn't look for a body in the snow.
I didn't ask you if you looked for one. You weren't looking for tire tracks either, were you? But you saw those.
I did see those, yes.
And you did not see a body in the snow.
No, I did not.
John O'Keefe, 6'2", 216 pounds, brawny guy, big boy, right?
I don't think I'd refer to him as a big boy, but he was tall, yes.
All right. You certainly didn't see him prostrate in the snow the way you found him the next
Oh my God, Rain, what is that? What is that meme? Oh, it's so creepy looking. The Weekend.
morning, correct? Later that morning,
I didn't see anything on the ground, no.
correct?
I can't take The Weekend seriously anymore. After watching what's it called again? We were just talking about this a couple days ago. The TV show. Oh, The Idol. Oh God. I can't take The Weekend seriously anymore. Or Lily Rose Depp. Although she was in I think she's in she's in Nosferatu. I was gonna watch it, but I started the beginning of it. I'm just like, ugh, I don't know. Not into it. We'll see. I heard it's good.
The third time you looked out toward that SUV, it's still in the direction of the flagpole, but a little further up, a little deeper to the right, correct?
Yes.
Again, looking directly in the direction, at least, of the flagpole and that area of the yard, you were looking beyond that to the SUV, correct?
Yes.
You did not see John O'Keefe standing outside the vehicle?
I did not, no.
He was not sitting outside the vehicle?
No.
And he certainly wasn't lying on the ground, was he?
I didn't see him.
Right?
Yes.
But you were still looking in that direction because that's the last place you saw the SUV. Is that right?
I looked out the window like this. I wasn't searching anywhere, but just glanced out the window, and I didn't see it.
I'm just asking you direction. Not whether or not you were searching. I know you didn't sit down search party. That's not my question. My question is, were you looking toward the area where you last saw the SUV around 12:45 a.m.?
Yes.
That would be directly across the lawn,
Man, this is gonna be a really long cross-examination.
directly past the flagpole and directly into the street where you last saw the SUV, correct?
I glanced out, yes, correct.
And the same way you glanced out at the SUV, to use your words, glanced out and saw the tire tracks, right?
Correct, yes.
But you did not see John O'Keefe standing on the lawn.
No.
You did not see him sitting on the lawn.
No.
And you certainly did not see his body lying on the lawn, did you?
No, no, I did not.
Ultimately, you left the location that night, the gathering at 34 Fairview. Is that right? You didn't spend the night there?
No, I went home.
About what time was it that you left the location?
Approximately, it was after 1:30. Approximately 1:30, 1:45.
So this is maybe an hour later, later than what we've just been discussing.
Yes.
Seeing the SUV. Who did you leave with?
I left with my husband, Matt, and Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson.
Who was driving?
Sorry, my husband, Matt, was driving.
And where was Sarah Levinson and Julie Nagel sitting in that
Tell us about the bread.
SUV?
They were in the back seat.
By the way, what kind of SUV were you in that night?
A Yukon.
Four-door,
Yeah,
extended
big
seating?
Yes.
When the SUV pulled out of the driveway, it was in the driveway?
Yes.
When the SUV backed out of the driveway, doing a three-point turn, backed out of the driveway, did it go toward Chapman or did it go toward Cedar Crest?
It went towards Chapman.
So as you backed out of the driveway, you would have been heading toward the flagpole side of the property rather than back toward the driveway side of the property, correct?
Correct.
You would have driven directly adjacent to the area where John O'Keefe's body was later discovered at 6:04, 6:03 a.m., correct?
Yes, correct.
You were seated in the passenger seat of the vehicle, not the driver's seat.
Correct.
You were seated in the front of the vehicle, not the back seat.
Correct.
You would have been closest to the yard as y'all drove past, correct?
Correct.
That's a newer model Yukon. I'm assuming that the headlights automatically turn on at night?
Yes.
So the headlights were illuminated?
Yes.
Did your husband, Matt, did he turn on the brights? Or did he leave the beams on low? Or do you know?
I don't know.
But certainly the area in front of that SUV, that Yukon, was well lit.
The lights were on, yes.
You did not see anything out of the ordinary as you drove right by that location, did you?
I was looking in the back seat when we were driving.
Did you see anything out of the ordinary on that lawn as you drove by in that SUV?
No, because I wasn't looking at the lawn.
You certainly did not see John O'Keefe dressed in dark clothing laying prostrate in the lawn.
No, I did not.
You said that you were turned around talking to the other young ladies in the SUV, Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson. Is that right?
Yes.
She was yapping about bread.
You indicated that you were engaged with them about conversation having to do with bread and maybe peanut butter or something.
Yes.
You didn't, as you passed by that location adjacent to where John's body was later discovered.
Amanda, have fun. Have fun at work today. You don't have too much fun without you. Okay, we'll try not to. Thanks for hanging out, Amanda.
You didn't hear Julie Nagel say anything out of the ordinary about having seen something.
No.
You didn't hear Sarah Levinson say anything out of the ordinary about having seen something.
No.
And according to you, you were turned around, directly engaged with both these young ladies as you passed by that area where John's body was later discovered. Is that right?
When we pulled out, I turned around and I was talking to them.
I think Julie's the one that wasn't interviewed until 9 months later, right? 9 months later, wasn't interviewed until later by law enforcement.
About the bread and the peanut butter. I'm not sure exactly where we were driving, but it was when we pulled out, yes.
You certainly never heard anybody say anything like, what was that, or anything close to that.
No, I didn't.
I'd like to turn your attention to your arrival back at 34 Fairview just after 6 a.m. the next morning. You indicate that the visibility was relatively poor and that you could not see John O'Keefe on that lawn from your perspective, correct?
The visibility was extremely poor, and no, I could not see him.
You were in the front seat, passenger side?
Yes, I was.
It was Karen Reed who actually saw Mr. O'Keefe and jumped out of the car and began attending to him immediately, correct?
Karen got out of the car and ran to John O'Keefe.
And you stayed by the car, and Ms. Roberts ran over to assist Ms. Reed in giving first aid to, at least initially, to Mr. O'Keefe. Is that right?
No, that is not. Carrie got out and walked over, and then I got out and walked over.
You indicated that... Well, let me ask you a different question. Yesterday, you testified in pretty significant detail that when you got out of the car, you could not see anything even close to the flagpole, correct?
Visibility was very bad, yes.
Matter of fact, you used the word whiteout conditions. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Whiteout conditions, you basically can't see your hand in front of your face.
I wouldn't say that extreme, but I used whiteout as there's just snow coming at you.
You were specifically asked by Mr. Brennan, how close did you have to get before you could actually see anything of note where Ms. Reed had gone? Is that right?
Yes.
You testified yesterday that you could see just merely shadowy figures of Ms. Reed and Carrie Roberts, and it wasn't until you got very close over to them that you could see John, in your words.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, you followed that up by saying that that was the first moment, once you got basically on top of them, that was the first moment that you realized that it was John, that there was a body on the ground, correct?
I said as I got close to them, I don't think on top of them.
Fair enough. It's my words, not yours. You did say, quote, very close to them, correct?
I'd have to see it, but...
Well, you just testified to it yesterday. You remember saying, I'd get very close to them?
I know I said I had got very close to them or close to them, something like that, yes.
I don't have a transcript of yesterday's testimony, I'm sorry. Last year you testified to something very different than that, though, didn't you?
No.
Isn't it true that last year you testified that you got out on the passenger side of the vehicle, which is, we'll agree, the furthest side from the lawn, as Ms. Roberts was driving from Chapman toward Crestview, Cedar Crest, correct?
Yes.
You testified that you were on the passenger side, and as you got out of the vehicle, you noted that Karen Reed was already at John. Is that right?
As I got out and walked around the back of the vehicle, the shadowy figure of Karen had already gotten onto something.
You further testified that as you got out of the vehicle, you noted that she straddled John, lifted up her shirt, and went to lay on him. And Ms. Roberts went over and said she was...
I don't remember that. Karen Reed also lifted up her shirt as well. Like, what, she was trying to like warm him up or something?
Started removing snow from John's face, correct?
I have the page and line number.
Where are you,
Sure.
Mr. Jackson?
May 17, 2024, RT 114, 115, line 4.
Oh, was that last
Is that
year's
how you testified
testimony?
last year?
I'm sorry, would you mind just repeating it?
Sure.
Thank you.
You testified in substance that you were on the passenger side of the vehicle, and as you got out, quote, as I got out, end quote, she, Ms. Reed, was already at John. You indicated that you saw her straddle him, lift up his shirt, lift up her shirt, and lay on top of him while Ms. Roberts went over and removed snow from his face. That's how you testified last year, correct?
Exactly.
Is that how you testified last year?
I'm not sure. I know...
Next question.
Would it refresh your recollection if you look at a copy of your testimony from last year?
I don't think looking at it would refresh my memory. I know I might have used different words, but the bottom line is I got out of the car, went behind the car, went over, and Karen had done that.
Mr. Dave, I'm asking, do you think it would refresh your... You don't have your recollection of how you testified last year on your own. Sitting on that witness stand. I'm asking, do you think it would refresh your recollection to see your transcript from last year?
I don't need to see my transcript. I know what I know, and I know what I remember. So
That's not my question. I'm not asking what you remember now. I'm asking how you testified a year ago now.
whether I said it was as we're fighting over silly words, whether I said it as I got out of the car or we were there.
Words matter. They matter a lot.
Okay, so remember, Mr. Jackson, no comments. Ms. McCabe, can you answer his questions?
Okay.
Do you remember exactly how it is that you testified last year?
I remember them saying that they were lifting it was like Karen lifted John's shirt and then they were like, what are you doing? Or something, like she was trying to warm him up. But I don't remember them saying Karen lifted John's shirt and her shirt as well. Did she say that yesterday, that Karen also was lifting up her shirt? Was Karen not wearing a jacket?
I do not know.
I guess what's the importance of it?
Thank you.
Yeah, refreshing that memory, girl.
last year?
I see what it says, I said, but it's a little bit different than what you stated.
Okay, then let's walk through that. Did you indicate last year that as you got out of the vehicle, that's when you could see what Miss Reed was doing with John O'Keefe, down to the detail of pulling her shirt up and pulling his shirt up to try to go skin to skin?
I object.
Why don't I see it sidebar? Why don't you bring it to Mr. Jackson, please?
At the sidebar.
Is it true that you...
All right, now you can go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. McCabe, is it true that you had the following colloquy last year on this subject? Answer.
Yes, I remember that. I remember them saying that Karen was trying to lift up John's shirt, and then I think Carrie was like telling Karen to get off or something. And then Carrie was starting to do chest compressions, and then I think Karen was trying to do like mouth to mouth or something.
I was on the passenger side, so as I got out, she was already at John. Question. So she gets out and essentially makes a beeline over to where John was. Answer. Correct. Question. And you're getting out of the passenger side, and by the time you come around the car, she's already there. Answer. Yes. Question. And when she gets over there, what, if anything, could you see at that point? Answer. She straddles John and lifts up his shirt. And then she lifted up her shirt and went to lay on him. And Miss Roberts went over, and she was removing the snow from his face. Is that how you testified last year?
Yes, that's how I answered the questions.
Okay. Clearly, you didn't indicate last year that it was whiteout conditions, you could see nothing of the kind, and you had to get, quote unquote, very close to him before you could see anything, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. It's the first word that's problematic, Mr. Johnson.
Yesterday, you testified that it was whiteout conditions. You had to leave the car, walk all the way over and get, quote unquote, very close to John before you recognized that it was even a body. Is that right?
Yes.
But last year, you testified that you were still at the car when you noted the detail of Karen basically getting life-saving.
Oh, okay. That's what we're getting at. All right. I thought he was hung up on the whole like shirt detail thing. Got it. It's like, when did you start seeing Karen giving life-saving measures to John, I guess? Okay. Got it.
Aid to John. You can see that clearly, all the way from the car, correct?
Objection.
Is that what you said, Ms. McCabe?
No.
I'm gonna go back a little bit.
That you were still, quote, that it was whiteout conditions. You had to leave the car, walk all the way over and get, quote unquote, very close to John before you recognized that it was even a body. Is that right?
Yes.
But last year, you testified that you were still at the car when you noted the detail of Karen basically giving life-saving aid to John. You can see that clearly, all the way from the car, correct?
Objection.
Is that what you said, Ms. McCabe?
No.
Yeah, I don't remember what she said about that. I remember she was saying that she was in the car, they were all driving. Karen was like, there he is, and she was kicking the door, she got out or something. And the women thought she was crazy because they didn't see anything. But then at some point they saw Karen run up to where John was, and then yeah, I don't remember what she said. If she saw it from the car or she got out and then she realized it was John.
Is there a reason, Ms. McCabe, that you might wish to improve your testimony this year than last year, over last year, with regard to the distance that you could see Ms. Reed engaged with Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
Are you trying to suggest, or improve your testimony to suggest, that you had no idea that there was a body there and nobody reasonably could have even seen a body there as you drove up?
Objection.
Is that what you're trying to say, Ms. Reed?
Miss Reed?
McCabe.
Can you repeat the question, please?
I'm not sure. I'll give it a shot.
I'm sorry.
Are you
Miss
trying to
who
improve
now?
your testimony this year over last year to suggest that reasonably nobody could have seen where John was from the car?
I'm not trying to improve my testimony now.
You claimed on direct examination today, as a matter of fact, that Ms. Reed looked at you at the scene and said the phrase, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. She said it 3 times, very distinctly, according to your testimony, correct?
She did, yes.
That was so impactful that it had the effect of putting you in some sort of shock and horror. Is that right?
I was in shock the whole morning, but that statement definitely was a lot.
And that's an incredibly memorable statement for you to have heard and now recount to us in this trial, correct?
Correct.
Something that you wouldn't easily forget or overlook. Is that right?
Something I wouldn't.
Something you would not easily
Correct.
forget or overlook. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Matter of fact, some might say it's the centerpiece.
Oh, which one did you watch, Diane? Did you watch the Body in the Snow? That's the one that I watched, but I don't know if did I finish that one though? Whatever that was on HBO.
Of your testimony.
Objection.
Sustained.
Ms. McCabe, you testified
McCabe.
at a grand jury in April of 2022, did you not?
I did, yes.
Before you testified, you took an oath, very much like the oath that you took before you testified in this case, correct?
Correct.
You swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, correct?
Correct.
And that included the whole truth at the state grand jury, correct?
Correct.
That was only weeks, several weeks, but weeks after this incident, right? April 26th versus January 29th, 2022. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Things were much fresher in your mind then than they are now.
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Especially something as momentous as an admission from my client that she hit him. Would you agree?
Would I agree that she said that?
Would you agree that that would be fresh in your mind? Something as momentous as that. You wouldn't forget that.
I will never forget it.
You wouldn't overlook that.
I will never forget it.
You would not overlook that either, would you, Ms. McCabe?
I answer the questions I'm asked.
Can you answer the question that I just asked? You're not answering my question. Would you overlook that?
No.
And the reason you wouldn't overlook it is because it was so impactful on you, having heard that. Not once.
Oh, I can never sit on the jury, man. Like too much back pain. My legs start getting like numb. My shoulders, my arms. I wonder if they're sitting on uncomfortable benches or if they got better chairs this time. I don't know. I doubt it.
Not twice, 3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Is that right?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Yes, I see it.
Is that a transcript of your entire testimony at the grand jury in April of 2022?
I believe so, yes.
You've reviewed it in the past?
I have read it about a year ago, yes.
You read it in anticipation of your testimony a year ago, correct?
Yes, I reviewed it.
Have you reviewed it in preparation for your testimony today?
No, I haven't.
Yesterday. Ms. McCabe, turn to the page or pages in that transcript where you recount to the grand jurors that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Thanks, Dino.
This is over 227 pages.
Take your time.
How long did you say it was?
Said this is over 223 pages. He's like, take your time.
It's okay.
227?
I'm not going to let her read 227 pages.
You reviewed it before, actually.
I reviewed it a year ago, yes.
You read the whole thing.
He said, take your time. That'd be funny if she took him up for it. Like, okay, well, let me sit here and read 227 pages.
I skimmed through it.
I'm getting
One of the most
hungry.
important points in your testimony yesterday and today is recounting these jurors the phrase, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Is that right?
Objection.
To the form of that, I'm sustaining it.
Was it important to you to tell these jurors that you heard my client say, I hit him 3 times?
I answered the questions and I'm telling the jurors what I know.
Was it important to you, before testifying today, that you recount to these jurors the phrase, I hit him, coming out of my client's mouth?
Your client said she hit him, yes.
That's not my question. Listen to my question, Mr. McCabe.
I'm sorry.
Was it important to you, before you testified, to tell these jurors, under oath, that my client said, I hit him 3 times?
As a witness, it's important to tell the truth and to answer the question you were asked.
And in point of fact, in your entire grand jury testimony, you never said, my client said the words, I hit him, did you?
Again, it's 227 pages.
Ms. McCabe, you were there. They're your words. I'm not asking you to rehearse something. You were there. Did you tell the grand jurors that my client said I hit him?
I have testified a number of times, but I was there the morning of January 29th when your client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Did you tell that to the grand jurors?
I'm not sure.
It's because you didn't, did you?
Again, I'm not sure.
Ms. McCabe, you were asked in your grand jury testimony no fewer than 12 times, 12 separate times, you were asked to repeat words that my client said both before, going to, and at the scene at 34 Fairview that morning. Correct?
Objection.
Oh, I do remember this from trial number 1. Yeah, I think this will be the strongest point of the cross-examination.
Know the answer to that?
No.
You were all asked multiple times. what my client's words were that you heard her say, go to and at the scene, correct?
I was correct.
And you recounted those words truthfully and honestly at that time, correct?
Correct.
Because you were under the same oath that you're under today.
Correct.
And things were much fresher in your mind then than they are now 3.5 years later. Would you agree with that?
I hit him. It's just as fresh today as it was 3 years ago.
Turn to page 190, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Page 190.
For court and counsel lines 10 and 11. The phone to the grand jurors, correct?
Correct.
And what she said at 4:53 a.m. was, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? She didn't say it. She asked it, correct?
She didn't say that at 4:53.
Did you testify that what Ms. Reed said to you that morning over the phone was, could I have hit him? Did I hit him?
Yes, I did.
May I approach?
Yes. Ma'am.
Sure.
With each one. If you turn to page 192. What did you tell the grand jurors my client said in that answer?
Foundation.
What are we talking about?
I'll ask it a different way. Did you answer a question on page 192, line 4, concerning my client's statement?
Did I answer a question?
You were answering a question, correct?
Oh, yes, yes.
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
And the answer that you gave to the grand jurors was, she said, could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, that's part of the answer I gave.
Turn to page 193.
I'd object.
So I don't want to have to see it sidebar. We need context in order for this.
Oh, thanks, Angie. I went and checked. She said Karen straddled him, lifted her shirt and his shirt. Okay, that was in her direct examination yesterday? Or was that from trial number 1, Angie?
To be admissible, Mr. Jackson. I have no idea what that said.
Your Honor, everyone, I can make an offer of proof at sidebar if you
Okay,
wish.
why don't you come to sidebar?
Sure.
And bring them.
Yesterday? Okay, thank you.
May I first witness?
Yes. Do you have an extra copy for yourself?
Yes, this is after lunch. We are like 10 minutes away from being caught up, but they are actually on a short break right now, so
I have notes.
Justin?
I have notes.
Thank you.
I think my notes is
we catching up.
on page 192, line 4, for context, were you talking about a statement that was made in Karen's car on that morning before you got to the scene?
192.
192, line 4.
What happened? What did I miss? Okay, after the lunch break? Okay, the cross-examination, honestly, I think the most important part is where we are at right now. The grand jury testimony, Jackson is claiming that Jen never said, I hit him 3 times. And he threw like 223 pages at her. And she's like, you want me to read this? He's like, take your time. And the judge was like, no, we're not going to have her read 223 pages of grand jury testimony. But let's see, after lunch break, I barely have any notes because honestly, they focus a lot on the SUV. Jen looking out the window, the SUV was moving up. Was the Jeep there? Jen said she saw tire tracks in the snow. And then when they were leaving, did they see a body in the snow? And what car were you driving? Did you have your headlights on? Was it fairly lit? Were you able to see anything at the flagpole? She was like, no. She drives what did she say? A Yukon? A big old car. She said she didn't see anything in the snow. She said she was turned around having conversations with the other 2 girls about bread and peanut butter. And what else was there? And then it got a little bit interesting when Jackson was talking about whether or not Jen McCabe was trying to improve her testimony this time. Because apparently she may have said that it was whiteout conditions when they were looking out for John, and that she saw Karen trying to give life-saving measures from the car. However, it seems like maybe her testimony has been changed to she got out of the car and then went around the car. Sorry, she got out of the passenger side vehicle and then went around the car, and that's when she saw Karen was giving the life-saving measures. And then we're at the I hit him versus the grand jury testimony, and then trial number 1. So I think this part is the most interesting, I would say, right now.
Yes, that was a comment she made in the car.
And she said the phrase, you recounted that she said the phrase, could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, that was part of my answer.
Take a look at page 193. line 1 through 2.
I'm saying claiming right now just to be reserved because I don't remember because I do remember Jackson following this line of questioning as well last year, but I don't know if in redirect if it was misrepresented or if they ever corrected it or if it really was what it was on the what Jackson is claiming. So that's why I'm being reserved right now because I don't remember what happened in redirect. So I don't know if Hank is going to come back and redirect and be like, well, actually, you said this, or actually, here's more context.
This was also in the context of a conversation that was in Karen's car, correct?
Yes.
And the phrase that you attributed to my client was, could I have hit him? The question, correct?
Yes.
Page 193, line 23. In the context of being in John's driveway at One Meadows,
Yes.
and you attributed the statement, and she's asking if she could have hit him, correct?
Yes, when she showed me her taillight.
Page 201, lines 23 and 24. This is driving to Fairview. She asked, what if I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Can you tell me the lines?
I'm sorry, lines 23 and 24. Page 201.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I've read it.
She stated, according to you, what if I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, she did.
Page 202, top of the page, line 1 and 2. Again, in context, this is driving to Fairview, before you arrived at Fairview. And she again asked, quote, according to you and your testimony in front of the grand jury, could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, I see that here as part of my answer.
Then turn to page 208, lines 24 and 25.
I'm sorry, what lines 24 and 25?
Lines 24 and 25, let me know when you've
I've read them, thank you.
those. For context, this is at the scene, outside Fairview.
Yes.
And you told those grand jurors under oath, she asked, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes.
On page 208, lines 24 and 20, I'm sorry, 208 and 209, going on to page 209, lines 1 through 3. You actually recounted to the grand jurors a conversation that you said my client had with a female EMT standing right there, exactly as you testified to today. Female EMT. You see that?
I do, yes.
And what did you say my client's statements were in front of that female EMT?
In this, I say that she said, could I have hit him? Is he dead?
It's actually, did I hit him?
Oh, sorry, I missed that part. I apologize. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead?
And that was at the scene, in front of the female EMT, exactly the scene that you're describing. You attributed the three statements to my client to today, right?
There was many different times when we were talking to different EMTs, the female EMT, the men, police officers.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Full statement at page 208, starting at lines 22 through 25, going on to page 209, down to line 4, was, quote, so there are different, police officers getting statements from us. And at one point I'm standing with Miss Reed and she's saying, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And there was, I believe, an EMT, a female, standing right next to me listening to her yelling, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? It was pretty much nonstop. That was your testimony in front of the grand jurors, correct?
Yes, it was.
And that was April 26th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Not one time, Ms. McCabe, did you utter the phrase, I hit him, as it relates to my client in front of that grand jury on April 26th, 2022. Did you? Not once.
I'd have to read through the 227 pages to see.
As you sit here today, do you remember ever saying to those grand jurors, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, in front of a female EMT?
I've spoken to in a few grand juries. What I said specifically at different ones, I don't recall at this moment, but I do know that morning your client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times, and there was a female EMT there.
You spoke with Trooper Proctor just the same day.
Trooper who now?
Right, January 29th.
Yes.
Trooper Proctor was taking notes
Yes.
about your conversation?
Yes, he was. Mhm.
Read those notes, as a matter of fact. Simple.
I didn't review his notes. I think I've seen a report at one point or another.
On that very day, January 29th, 2022, when you were asked to recount what happened at the scene,
Hold on. Before we get to Trooper Proctor, I need to get a drink. Give me a second, y'all. All right, y'all ready for Proctor? Now, from trial number one, from what I remember, and I don't know if I remember correctly, but I do remember not believing the I hit him 3 times statement. It was more like people did say that they heard the I hit him, did I hit him thing, but it seems like it could have been more of a question than anything than her admitting that she hit him. Because I remember, well, if she said I hit him, maybe it would make it into some reports or paramedic reports, and stuff like that. It never made it to anyone's report. I don't think so. Also, Karen Reed wasn't apprehended at the scene. Law enforcement, maybe they heard it and why wouldn't they take her seriously? Maybe they thought she was being hysteric, but I mean, you would assume that law enforcement, if this woman is confessing, I hit him, if they would have heard, they would have been like, wait a second, ma'am, you said you hit him? Tell me what happened. Take her aside, investigate her car, look at her vehicle, take her in for questioning or something. I don't know if law enforcement wasn't within earshot when they heard that or if they didn't hear it, because I don't think any of them testified saying that they heard that. But yeah, I remember from trial number one that I wasn't convinced about the I hit him thing. I think it was more like people saying that they heard, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? And I think the reason why now the witnesses are more convicted when saying that they heard Karen Reed said, I hit him is because this case, the publicity of it has blown up so much, and it's really in their best nature to be more convicted when they're making these statements. Which is why I think firefighter Nuttall, I could have sworn in testimony number one, or sorry, trial number one, that he was more kind of saying that he overheard saying, oh, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? But then in trial number two, he said that he heard I hit him like 3 times, right? But then I think it was changed from I wasn't Jackson saying that Nuttall said that he heard I think Nuttall, I could have sworn Jackson said that Nuttall said that he said it twice. I hit him, not I hit him. I don't know. I feel like the reason why we're now really convicted on the I hit him ×3 is because there's a lot of eyes on this case. The witnesses, I think they just want to make sure they have a solid story. Because I think before it was a little bit more wishy-washy about what she said. I think she did hit him, says Aaron. Yeah, I mean, she's doing well, keeping her head on straight. I'm talking about the statements. Whether or not I was convinced about Karen Reed saying it in trial number one. Because I think the takeaway, because I remember taking notes about it. I remember I had 4 witnesses that said that they heard Karen Reed saying something about hitting him. Let's see. Let me see if I can find my notes. What's the name of the firefighter paramedic? And that was a female paramedic. I hit him. Oh my God, there's so many mentions of this. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Yeah, Nuttall says he heard I hit him. Oh, Nuttall did say he heard that. Flamati said I hit him. Katie says I hit him. Who was Katie again? Oh, I think Katie was a female paramedic, right? The people said that had ties with the Albert family. And then Jen McCabe, right. And then Jen McCabe, my notes from her was that she said, could I hit him? Did I hit him? Officer Seraph said, this is all my fault. I did this. And these are my notes from last year. All right, so notes from last year, 3 paramedics said they heard I hit him, but I don't have how many times it was said. Jen McCabe says, could I hit him? Did I hit him? And then Seraph says, this is my fault. I did this. But then again, no action was taken against Karen at the scene. They let her leave the scene. She left the scene and drove off with Carrie Roberts, but then she was called back again to be Section 12.
Who was doing what? Who said what? You never told Trooper Proctor that my client said I hit him either, did you?
Oh, I told him. Yes, I did.
He just leave that out of his report?
I'm not responsible for his report.
No, you're not. But you have read his report.
So again, no comments, Mr. Jackson.
You have read his report.
That's right. It's like, can we even rely on fucking Proctor's report? Yeah, that's right. Because these witnesses interviewed with Proctor. I think, was it Carrie Roberts that was brought up earlier? And then it was like, oh, these statements were never said and was never mentioned in Proctor's report. But it's like, man, like, can you really rely on Proctor taking good reports?
I have seen it before, yes.
If only we had body cams. Jeez, Canton.
Yes.
Thank you.
You looked at that report for another particular sworn. Do you still recognize it?
Yes, I do.
Can you review that report, scan it, and let me know when you're done?
Okay, is there something specific I should be looking for?
I don't think you're going to find it, Ms. McCabe.
All right, so again, jurors disregard the comments. So it's question, answer format only.
My question is, do you see the phrase, I hit him, as it's attributable to my client in that report? Objection.
System.
Do you recall telling Trooper Proctor that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? Objection.
Do you recall that?
Yes, I told him.
He was taking notes at the time?
He was taking notes, correct.
Those notes ended up being memorialized in a formal report?
I'm assuming he...
The report's still holding? I object.
Sustained.
Does that appear to be a report of the January 29th, 11:35 or so a.m. interview that you did with Trooper Proctor?
Yes, it does.
You said you reviewed that report in the past?
Yes, in the past.
And you're aware in no place in that report does the phrase I hit him show up anywhere, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can I approach you?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't approach witness. Sorry. I'm being vague. I was just grabbing the report back. Sorry. May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
I want to draw your attention to the very early morning hours of January 29th, around 4:53 a.m. when you indicated you received that phone call from Kaylee's phone. Do you have that time and date in mind?
Yes, I do.
My client told you that John had not come home, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that Ms. Reed at that point was awake and looking for John?
I didn't know what... I just knew that she was awake and screaming.
Right, because she was worried about where John was.
Objection.
Sustained.
You've been asked who you communicated with first thing that morning after you received that first call from Ms. Reed, is that right?
Yes.
You were asked by Trooper Prince in her formal interview. Trooper Prince interviewed you on February 1st, about 3 days after the incident, correct?
I met with a lot. I don't really remember specific days.
Do you remember a female trooper?
Yes, I do, actually.
Okay. In your house?
Yes.
Or I should say at your house?
Yes.
That was around 3 days after the incident?
Was it Tuesday, maybe? Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I think so, yes,
Okay.
if it's the one I'm thinking.
You were also asked at the same grand jury who you communicated with on the morning of January 29th.
Okay.
Remember that?
Not specifically.
Would it refresh your recollection if we were to take a look at that a specific page of that grand jury transcript?
Sure.
Hey there, Karen.
Are they going to go on lunch break? Or, sorry, not lunch break. Oh, short break. Okay. I like these short breaks are coming out of nowhere.
Back at 34 Fairview after. Ultimately, examination, you did.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McCabe, I want to draw your attention back to the morning, later in the morning, after you're back at 34 Fairview, after the police have already cleared the scene, and you're back with your friends and family inside the home at 34 Fairview. We've already talked about the fact that the witnesses were not sequestered in any way, they were not separated in any way by the police. Is that right?
We were just sitting together with friends
Right.
and family, so yeah, no.
Everybody was free, all the friends and family that were in there were free to talk amongst themselves, which you did do, correct?
Yes.
All right. Everybody had the opportunity to say their piece and to listen to others say their piece as well.
We had conversations. It wasn't really nothing more than that.
At some point, you did, I think you mentioned this on direct examination, you did
Trooper who now?
reach out to Mike Lank. Is that right?
Yes.
Remind us who Mike Lank is in your world, in addition to being a Canton police officer, police sergeant, I think he was at the time. Who is he in your world?
He was just a local guy that I, knew was friendly with.
And had gone to high school with?
No.
Was he ahead of you in high school?
We weren't in high school at the same time.
Yeah, he was about 5 years ahead of you, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. But you'd known him, or known of him, from basically childhood, or young adulthood.
Yeah, just knew him from around town.
At some point, you decided that you were going to call Sergeant Lank back to the scene because there was a piece of information that you wanted to provide him again. Provide him so he needed to come back again.
Yes.
Ultimately, you called him on his cell phone, right?
I did, yes.
So you were close enough that you had his cell phone number, he had your cell phone number?
No, I didn't have his cell phone number.
Where'd you get that number?
I asked Julie Albert for that number.
So Julie had his cell phone number?
Yes, she did.
And Julie is Chris's wife?
Yes.
She was at the location?
Yes.
When I say the location, 34 Fairview that morning?
Yes.
As was Chris?
He came at some point. I don't know if he was there when I called Officer Lank or not.
As was Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes, he was.
He came back over to the location as well.
Yes, he did.
As a matter of fact, it was Brian Higgins who suggested that you reach out to Officer Lank.
I'm not sure if it was him who suggested it.
Someone suggested to you that you reach out to Officer Lank, is that right?
As I was sitting there remembering things, I believe, I can't say who did or didn't.
So as you were sitting there remembering things, you weren't just remembering things, you were remembering things and then telling others things that you remember.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yes.
others were absorbing whatever information you were providing to them and vice versa.
No one was really providing me any information because they didn't know what happened.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just sitting there trying to recount what had transpired since I got that 4:53 phone call.
And one of the things that you decided you wanted to tell Sergeant Lank was a statement by Mike Lank.
Yes.
So you called Sergeant Lank on his cell phone, and you were able to get a hold of him, correct?
Yes.
Whatever he's doing, I'm guessing he was busy at the time.
I don't know what he was doing.
He's first responder on a death of a police officer case that was just hours old. So he had to be busy.
I would assume again, don't know what he was doing.
But in fact, after you got your phone call, you dropped everything and headed back to 34 Fairview, correct?
Assist him.
Did you come back to 34 Fairview quickly?
He was there fairly quickly, yes, I would say.
Your request.
Yes, I called him and asked him to come back.
Because you told him that you had information that was important enough that he needed to get over there so you could tell him in person what this new information was.
I called him and told him that I was remembering things and asked if he could come back.
And he didn't just say, "Guys, just tell me what it is on the phone." He literally said, "Okay, I'm going to get in my car, drive in a blizzard." It was still a blizzard, right?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to get all my gear on, drive in a blizzard back over to 34 Fairview, get out of my cruiser, come into the house, and get ready for this
This is Sergeant Lank, right?
new information that you're going to give me, correct?
He did not say all that, no.
No, that's what he did.
I have no idea what he did. I called him and then he came.
Well,
That's.
he walked over. And he came over his car, right?
I would assume so, yes.
Right. So he had to get in his car, drive over to the blizzard, get out of the car, walk through the blizzard, go to the front door, and get ready for this new meeting that he's going to have, correct?
Yes, that seems like steps one would take.
And whatever it was that you wanted to tell him, you let him know it was important enough to have a special additional meeting. It wasn't something that you were just going to sit on. You wanted to give him this information immediately without hesitation, correct?
He said if I remembered anything to give him a call, so I did.
So when he came back over, he obviously had a notepad and a pen in his hand, correct?
I believe he was taking notes.
And you told him, you testified this morning that what you told him was Karen Reed said, I hit him, right?
Correct.
But when he wrote this report, you said, she said, I hope I didn't hit him, correct?
I don't have his report in front of me.
Yeah, just wondering.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's also possible. I get what you're saying, Aaron. Aaron says, deep down, Karen realizes what really happened by now. I think it's possible. But I think it's also possible that maybe she thought she was involved and she did hit him. But then when she saw John's injuries, she was utterly convinced that the car didn't hit him and that the scratches were there. I don't know. But then, I don't know. And then the question is, well, do we think that she intentionally backed into John's car to explain the cracked tail light, or did she actually back into the car because it was an accident? I don't know. And I guess there's like the disputing the whether or not she told Jen McCabe to Google how long to die in the snow, or if Jen McCabe did it on her own at a different time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You can turn to the orange tab.
I have a notepad right now of like different theories. If you guys have any of the theories, that think that could have happened, or that's just like in your mind right now and you're waiting for more evidence to either prove or disprove it, let me know. I'll add it to my list if I think they're interesting.
Do you see that?
I do, yes.
Okay, and you've had a chance to read it?
It's just the highlighted
Okay.
part.
May I approach?
Yes.
In fact, what you told Officer Lank was something to the effect of, I hope I didn't hit him. Correct?
Incorrect. I told him that she said I hit him.
He wrote in his report that you just read something to the effect of, I hope I didn't hit him.
Sustained.
Because I think I remember hearing her doing the interviews where she talked about, I don't know, she was like talking to you and Andy, but like, oh, could I have hit him? Could I have done it? Could I have like, sniped him? And then I think like she mentioned seeing the autopsy photos and the scratches, and she's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, did I do that?
Is this another example of an officer getting a report wrong?
Objection.
Is that report right?
Your Honor.
Sustained. Move on, Mr. Jackson.
I hope I didn't hit him, or something to the effect of, I hope I didn't hit him. Sounds an awful lot like, did I hit him? Did I hit him? Do you agree with that?
It does sound similar, yeah.
You testified yesterday that during that first phone call, that first phone conversation with Ms. Reed at 4:53 a.m., she told you, according to your testimony, that in that phone call, in that very first phone call, Ms. Reed said she had gotten into a fight, her taillight was cracked, and she asked, could I have hit him or did I hit him? Correct?
Incorrect.
Tell me where I'm wrong.
The first phone call, she had said we got into a fight and he didn't come home and I left him at the Waterfall. In the second phone call, once I told her that I saw her outside of my sister's house on Fairview, that is when she said, could she have hit him, and talked about her taillight.
So 2 hours after Ms. Reed found John O'Keefe and began giving him CPR, you were interviewed by Sergeant Sean Good, correct?
Objection.
Ask the question differently, Mr. Jackson.
2 hours after Ms. Reed found Mr. O'Keefe, about 2 hours later, say 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, after the scene was cleared, you were interviewed by Sean Good, were you not?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
While you were at the scene, after Ms. Reed had been giving CPR, Sean Good interviewed you, correct?
I don't remember a formal interview with Sean Good.
Do you remember talking to him?
When he arrived at the scene, I do remember briefly talking to him after all three of us gave John CPR.
And he asked you certain questions about what you'd seen, what you'd heard, what had happened, correct?
I have to tell you that I remember seeing him there and I remember talking to him, but I do not remember specifics of any conversation or any questions that he asked me.
Do you remember him asking you about any initial calls you had and you telling him about that 4:53 call and the early morning calls thereafter, the initial calls before you met up with Ms. Reed?
I don't recall.
Did you tell Sergeant Good, by the way, he was a sergeant at the time, Sean Good was a sergeant, not an officer?
I'm not sure.
Okay. By the way, you knew Sergeant Good, did you not?
I didn't know him. I knew of him, like I knew his name, but that was it.
How'd you know of him before that day?
Because his sister is a year or two younger than me, and I knew she had a brother that was younger, that was a Canton cop, just through the town, but I didn't know him.
Okay, friendly but not friends.
I wouldn't even say I was friendly with him.
Okay. You actually told Sergeant Good at the time, when he asked about those first phone calls, that when Ms. Reed called you, she was inquiring about John's whereabouts, correct?
Again, I don't recall my conversations with Sean Good.
You certainly never mentioned to Sergeant Good
Wait, Sergeant Good or Sean Good?
incessant screaming and hysteria
Or is it Sergeant Sean Good?
that you've described here in court?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you ever
Canton doesn't want body cams because it interferes with the cops' regular alcohol consumption. Oh no, Jen. Girl had at least 3 times as many vodkas as I would have and still drive. She's the same size and weight as me. I know they mentioned that, is it possible that her blood results could have indicated a higher, I forgot what compound that was, and a higher something level that tested and showed that she had like a high blood alcohol level or something like that. And I think they were trying to say that like, oh, well, she has MS, and sometimes people with MS can have a higher level of blah, 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 blah. And then that could have made it look like she had a higher blood alcohol level than she really did. But I also did hear this from last year's trial that someone with MS could also be easily, could be more easily drunk or something like that. Could get more, I can't say it. Someone with MS could easily get more drunk or have the effects of, the drunkenness more than normal people. But, I don't know if that's true or not. I just remember hearing about that.
mention anything about an argument or a fight to Sean Good?
Objection.
Sustained, Mr. Jackson. She said she didn't remember. Next question.
I have to go through the series of machinations. I don't know what she remembers and doesn't remember.
Next question, Mr. Jackson.
Did you mention anything about a cracked taillight to Sergeant Good?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you have no memory at all about what you talked to Sergeant Good about?
There were many officers there,
Right.
and like I said, I know I talked to Sergeant Good, but I do not remember the specifics of my conversation during that chaotic scene.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Let me ask a different question. There were many officers there, and many officers were asking you questions, correct?
Correct.
Did you tell any officer while at the scene that during those first few phone calls, first couple of phone calls with Ms. Reed, that there was incessant screaming and hysteria?
Again, there were many officers asking me questions. Most of them were regarding who John was, if he had medical issues or concerns, things like that.
Right.
It was a chaotic scene. I don't remember any specific questions about phone calls. I apologize.
But you did tell at least one officer about the initial phone call that you received indicating that John may be missing, correct?
I possibly said I got a phone call, and that's why I'm here. We all came out to look for him. I apologize for not remembering specifics.
Did you tell any officer at the scene anything about an argument or fighting that Ms. Reed said occurred on that first couple of phone calls?
Again, the conversations were very brief, and they were with a lot of different officers. There wasn't
yes or no?
in-depth conversations.
Yes or no?
Let her answer the question.
Do you recall, that is a yes or no question, do you recall telling any officer about a conversation in the initial couple of phone calls that you had with Ms. Reed about fighting or being in an argument? Do you recall that?
I cannot answer yes or no.
Well, you either do or you don't. If you
I
don't,
said
say
there
you
was
don't.
many different conversations. I am not sure.
So you don't recall.
I'm not sure on specific conversations about that. I apologize.
Is there a reason why you're not telling us that you simply don't recall making that statement?
Sustained.
Do you recall telling any officer about a cracked taillight that came up in one of those first two phone calls?
At the scene?
At the scene.
Again, I think all the conversations were about what was happening in the present time.
And literally this was a couple of hours after this incident, correct? When everything was freshest in your mind.
These conversations were at the scene when Miss Reed was running around screaming.
Were you also interviewed by Officer Mullaney?
Again, there were many officers there that I spoke to.
Ms. McCabe, do you understand my question? Did you understand the last question I asked you?
If I spoke to an officer, Mullaney?
Correct.
Again, I could have. I am not sure. I don't remember every officer. It was a chaotic scene. I had just found my friend on the ground.
So the answer is, I don't remember.
I
Correct?
don't remember speaking to him. No, sorry.
Later that morning, you did have a conversation with Officer Lank that you actually do remember, correct?
Yes, correct.
What you told Officer Lank, or Sergeant Lank, was that you received a phone call from Kaylee's phone and that Karen Reed was distraught because John never came home, correct?
I told him she was, I don't remember the exact words, but I told him something like she was hysterical and screaming and said John never came home.
You never mentioned that she said anything about a fight during that initial phone call, correct?
Again, I'm not sure what exactly was said during that initial phone call.
You never mentioned that she said something about a cracked taillight in that initial phone call or those two phone calls, correct?
Are these phone calls with who? Who are these phone calls? Who am I speaking to
The
at this
initial
point?
phone calls that you had with Miss Reed.
Yes.
You never mentioned to Officer Lank, or Sergeant Lank, that Miss Reed mentioned anything about a fight or an argument, correct?
I don't remember.
You never mentioned anything about Miss Reed saying anything about a cracked taillight in one of those two initial phone calls, correct?
Again, I don't remember all the things that I told Officer Lank.
And you certainly never mentioned that Miss Reed said anything about could I have hit him in either of those initial phone calls, correct?
Again, I don't remember my specific conversation with Officer Lank.
So you don't remember the conversation that you had with Officer
She's trying to keep it cool tone blue.
Lank when it was a clear light of day. You had a chance to take a beat and a breath, catch your breath, because it's now 11:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. You don't remember anything about that conversation. But according to your testimony, you remember in detail what my client said, waking you out of a dead sleep correct?
So I didn't speak to him at 11:30. It was earlier in the morning when he came back to Fairview.
Let's call it 9 o'clock, whatever.
Okay.
Right? Whatever. It wasn't the same chaos as my client screaming into the phone that John never came home, waking you out of a dead sleep, correct?
Correct.
But when you recounted that conversation or those conversations to Sergeant Blank, you didn't say a thing about Ms. Reed saying that there had been an argument, did you?
I'm saying I don't remember the specifics of my conversation with Officer Lank. I'm also saying that I was woken up out of a dead sleep. Karen showed up at my house screaming. I went out to help her look for John. And then we found one of my closest friends on the front lawn. And she was saying crazy things and acting crazy and
Ms. McCabe,
acting
that's not my
erratic.
question.
And so every
Ms. McCabe,
police
that's
officer
not my
that I
question.
spoke to,
Let her finish.
every police officer that I spoke to, I tried to answer their questions the best I could. It took me hours and in some cases days to remember all the things that Miss Reed had said. My mind, I was in a state of shock. But the minute I remembered,
All right, we're getting trial number 1. Jen McCabe now. Calm it down, Jen. Calm it down, Jen.
she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I called Officer Lank.
And your memory's getting better, even as we sit here today, correct?
There are certain things I will never forget, Mr. Jackson.
Including the fact that you never, ever, ever said, she said, the words I hit him, to a grand jury when you were asked about it 3 months after this. Correct?
She said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit
You
him.
never told that to the grand jury, did you?
I don't remember specifically that every grand jury and everything I said, but I can tell you with 100% accuracy, she screamed, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
You never said that to the grand jury.
I don't recall if I
You
did.
were there to get the truth, correct?
The truth is, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
You were asked that specific question at the grand jury. What did she say at the scene in front of the female EMT? And you know what your answer was? You do, because you just read it.
I wasn't asked what she was said
What
at the
was the
scene.
answer to that question?
I'm objecting.
The objection sustained. Ask one more clear question, Mr. Jackson.
What was the answer you gave in answer to the question about what was said by Ms. Reed to the EMT, the female EMT at the scene? What did you say she said?
I don't know if I was asked specifically what she said to a female EMT.
All right, we're going to end this now.
Your Honor, may I have one more question?
Go ahead.
I can't end it like this. You said,
Okay,
she
jurors.
said.
He said I can't end on this.
Female EMT.
All right, we're going to end this now.
Your Honor, may I have one more question?
Go ahead.
I can't end it like this. You said,
Okay,
she
jurors,
said.
ignore the comments of counsel. Ask one question, Mr. Jackson.
You said that she said, could I have hit him? Did I hit him in the presence of the female EMT? That's what you testified to under oath at the grand jury, isn't it?
Yes, because she also said that.
All right. So, folks, we are done for
Wait, so in trial number 1, did she say I hit him, I hit him, I hit him also? I thought for trial number 1, she said the same thing, like, oh, did I hit him? Could I hit him? Now I don't remember. What did she say for trial number 1? I'd be 100% awful witness. Listen, it'll be so hard. Honestly, it's like repetition. You know, some of the experts that come in and then they're like, hey, I testified 100 of trials. You know, those people, they got the experience, you know, they know how to deal with the cross-examination, with defense attorneys and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're like just like a normie and then you're called to testify, fuck, man, it's scary. But we have faith in you, Lauren. You know, if you ever have to testify. I was a witness one time in law for the defense lawyer in court, but it was like a small potatoes case. I could never cope in these circumstances. You think she won that? I think the most damaging thing about Jen's testimony is the I hit him thing versus what she testified the grand jury testimony. Because I think that, like, I don't know, man. I think because there's so many eyes on this case and the publicity is just like, you know, it's basically you or her. I think that, gosh. I mean, basically at this point, Jen McCabe has to convince the jury that it's Karen Reed and not her. And she's also trying to convince the public as well, right? So I think that's why she's like going gung-ho with this whole I hit him thing. I'm not fully convinced that Jen heard the I hit him thing because I'm looking for continuity and I'm looking for whether or not this was said previously, whether or not it's in reports or whether or not you know, other people are going to echo the same thing, like Carrie Roberts, you know, other witnesses that are nearby. I think right now, because there's so much publicity on it, I think that's the reason why she's like 100% fully, you know, with full conviction saying that like, oh yeah, Karen says I hit him. Therefore he did it. But, you know, I think this jury is probably not going to know any of that because, you know, they don't know what happened previously. But I think them bringing up the grand jury thing is very helpful. But I honestly thought the cross-examination would be a lot more fiery. There were some moments that were heated. But same thing with the Cellbrite expert too. I actually thought the Cellbrite expert, I thought it would be a lot more crazy in cross-examination.
Today, you remember tomorrow is the day that we're not in session. So
Why are they not in session tomorrow? Okay, so you guys get a Thursday off. Actually, Thursday, we could do the Sarah Boone sidebars tomorrow. Should we do the Sarah Boone sidebars? Let's see what the schedule's for Friday.
we will see you Friday. Friday is a full day, and I have to give you those questions. You can stay and file out after
Friday's a full day. Blech.
the jurors is paid. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read about the case, please disregard it and let us know, and be very careful with your social media. Have a great night, a good day off tomorrow. We'll see you on Friday. Thank you.
All right, they have a day off tomorrow. I don't know why. Friday it is. If you guys didn't see the rest of yesterday's hearing, wait, was it yesterday? Oh yeah, I was here with you guys. Yeah, she's gonna let Arca in. So Arca's gonna come in and testify, and they're gonna have some new findings that they're gonna be able to testify about. So I look forward to hearing from them later on. But yeah, that's about it. Sarah Boone sidebars. Oh, really? Been reading the court docs? Yeah, I was like, wait, should we do the Sarah Boone sidebars? Let's see. Sarah Boone sidebars. Where did I leave off? Yeah, maybe we'll do Sarah Boone sidebars tomorrow. Page 790. Sarah Boone sidebars tomorrow, possibly. And then I'll see you guys maybe on Friday, depending on who's testifying. You know, we're just trying to hop in and out of this Karen retrial. I don't want to stream the entirety of the trial, but I definitely do want to pop in when there are some interesting witnesses. But I mean, so far, you know, I think it's been pretty decent for the state. A lot more cleaner than when Mr. Lawley presented. Not a lot of repetitiveness. We'll see what happens with law enforcement. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you guys have a good one. Y'all take care. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you guys enjoyed the stream, hit the like button. Thanks for joining us today. And yeah, that's about it. You guys take care. Go outside, get some fresh air, do some stretchies. You know, go eat some lunch. I'm starving. I'm going to go eat lunch. I need to eat. I'm starving. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening, your afternoon, your morning, whatever it is for you guys. Bye, Chunky. Bye, Moondog. I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys being cordial with each other. And yeah, that's about it. Damn, we're only on day 7. Can y'all believe that? We're only on day 7. Whew, we're just in the very beginning of this, man. Something tells me we are going to start getting into some very unhinged territory. Similar to the Rust trial. Remember how Rust trial started off as like kind of chill? And then bam, shit just went down and like things were just going crazy. I don't know. So far, I mean, it's been pretty chill for the Henry trial. All right, y'all.